Hey Effie, how's it going? Hey J. Well, why am I saying Hey JPChivalry? No, I'm JPChivalry. I'm playing Higurashi when they cry. It's but more specifically, Chapter 4, Himatsubushi. You got an ad? Is the ad over? Oh man, how's it going, Effie? Hey JP, right? It's weird, but anyways, we're fine. Not even. Oh man, how's 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 it been since Angela's of Chivalry? No, why would I do that? Honking. How's it been since the Higurashi stream? So I slept. I woke up. Here we are. Thank you for sending me cute doggos. No problem. You know, just it's eye bleach. Whatever helps, right? After a scary game. This is something that came up in browsing today. So, did you have a good rest? It was okay. If anything, here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna go to sleep at 8 p.m. tonight without, falling asleep between now. So, I'll consider using text more if necessary. Using text more? Oh, like skipping through and then just reading the log? Or, yeah, I don't know. Whatever works for you. I mean, I think the OG sprites are scary faces. I think the OG sprites are okay. So, I think it'll be fine. Probably. Also, what's up? What's going on? So yeah, I think I'll be going to sleep at 8 p.m. Because I have to stay up today. So, considering doing Hat in Time on weekdays. Okay. Sounds good. I won't be able to tune in for that, except for the first stream. Maybe. But in Higurashi in the afternoon. Okay. Well, that might be a problem for me. But, it's fine. You just play through. I'll watch the VOD, Bold move, JP. It's, I mean, we'll see about the Terraria. The Terraria might not happen. No. Well, what's up? Yeah, Terraria, I'm iffy about, because I think we're waiting on the box spring guy to come by. So, I'll put your time preference first. Oh, okay. I don't know. It depends. It depends on when I wake up, of course, but Higurashi on weekends in the afternoon? Maybe, that could work. Or would that be iffy? I just don't know if that's too long of a wait in between Higurashi. So I don't want you to lose momentum in the story. We'll see what happens tonight. If anything, I'm going to go to sleep at 8, I'm going to wake up at midnight. And that's probably what's going to happen. Because it's fine. But yeah, I'll let you know, I guess. It's unforgettable. It's okay, it's unforgettable. You'll remember the plot points. If anything, we can fill you in, I guess. Okay, but yeah, I'll let you know, I guess. If it seems to work out better since it's in the daytime. Not much longer for Higurashi Chapter 1 anyway. Right. You are almost done. This is true. So, just based off achievements, right? Right? But, right? Right. Yeah, you're almost done. Just got a couple more events to go by. A couple more... Because well, I shouldn't say. Never mind. They can piss off for a while afterwards. I guess so. I mean, you got Eye Bleach with Hat. That's true. Hat in Time is a very comfy, very peaceful game. Very chill. But then gigs for the helps. No problem. Don't mention it. Anyways, yeah, I think... So Terraria is going to come at a time where I have to wait for the box spring guy. So I probably won't be doing Terraria. But it's fine. I played it off stream for the most part, so it's more for me, I guess. It's fine. We don't have to show off first reactions. Even then, I don't have face cam. Even then, it's just gonna be me. It's just gonna be me going, "Oh my god, look at that item! Whoa, poggies. I don't know. I'm being cynical, pessimistic. I don't know. Anyways, I'll catch you later, Effie. Because I'm gonna start. Because I gotta finish the story. I don't gotta finish it. I want to finish it. But yeah, let's do this. 10:37. Let's go. I think that's it. That's it. No FFC, no BTTV. I know, enjoy. I'm Edis. See you, Effie. Thanks for stopping by. Sniffles. See, it's every time I wake up. Yeah, I have to wait 2 hours. But I'm so impatient. I got the sniffles. Oh, man. Alright, we're fine. Everything's good. Everything's A-okay. Okay. I don't know, maybe it's allergies? Maybe it's waking up and then... I don't know. It's weird. I've noticed it since it's, like, happened for the past, like, what, couple streams? Okay. Maybe I need tissues. I don't know. No, it's fine. We got this. We're gonna finish reading because it's an enjoyable story. And, here we go. Yeah, good work, everyone. I know it's hot, but please do your best. Already fumbling. If you catch anybody illegally dumpling, please I need I don't know, maybe I need to drink water. Because this is a fantastic start right here. Also like how there's no music or anything right now. If you catch anybody illegally dumping, please contact someone immediately. We'll act quickly. Thank you for your cooperation, Noishi-san. Please. A gap wide enough for a single car was opened up in the barricade. Oishi, showing his gratitude, or perhaps a threatening attitude, with a short beep on the horn, rolled the car forward through the checkpoint. Right. So we got the call. We know roughly where the kidnappers are. Kid's making a play to escape, and that's what's going on. So that's more for me, for the refresher. This time, my appearance was the very embodiment of the word suspicious. A baseball cap, mask, and sunglasses. On top of that, even though it was sweltering, I was wearing a hoodie. Any respectable police officer would be loath to not stop me for questioning. I had meant to be overcautious, knowing full well that my face was known. But it might have already been too late for that to have any use. Using that as an excuse, I doffed the unbearably hot hoodie and windbreaker, ripped off the mask and hat, and threw them in the seat behind me. If anything, I think we're gonna play Terraria with Babby later, so that might be a better time. Oh my, is that okay? With a cheap little disguise like this, they probably figured it out anyways. That just might be the case. Oishi, probably thinking that my unexpected behavior was funny, continued to laugh. The beautiful and pristine scenery of Hinami's Isle spread out before me. The village itself would have been quite beautiful if it weren't for the complicated circumstances surrounding it at the moment. I would absolutely love to take Yuki here for a drive one day. Come to think of it, I didn't get a chance to call her last night. I played around with the idea in my head, but in reality, this village wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. I had heard everything at the prefectural headquarters. At the heart of this village, the intelligence network that the three families wielded was, due to blood ties and regional relationships, unbelievably well organized. Their net spread not just around Hinamizawa itself, but encapsulated the entirety of the city of Shishibone as well. When I first heard that, somewhere in the recesses of my mind, I didn't take it completely seriously. How could a local organization out in the boonies here have something so grandiose? I couldn't deny that somewhere in the back of my mind, I had ridiculed the thought. But not only were they threatening the minister, but they had demonstrated they had a complete grasp on our movements, which were supposed to be top secret. They were almost like the secret police that controlled a small Eastern European country like in some spy novel. The villagers here wouldn't bat an eye at getting their hands dirty if it meant fighting the damn project. like the Americans. TV show on FX. It's over now. I also heard something like that at the prefectural headquarters. Ah, now that you mention it. When I first arrived here, Oishi also said that this place was a war zone, didn't he? The residents of this village were at the same time freedom fighters. Although by definition they were no different than guerrillas or a militia. They weren't protected by the Geneva Convention, but they also didn't have to adhere to those rules either. This place was more of a quagmire than any legitimate battlefield. A secret war was unfolding. I could drive along because Oishi was with me, but if I was to leave this car for even something as trivial as looking for a vending machine, there was a chance I wouldn't return. Even though a single shot hadn't been fired, this was a battlefield. No, the reason why bullets weren't flying was simply because it was hard for a civilian to obtain a gun in Japan. So they're probably just equipped with weapons other than guns that were easier to obtain. That's why Oishi was wearing that stab-proof vest, wasn't it? Akasaka-san, are you nervous? Fu. The fact that I was apprehensive was, of course, picked up on by Oishi. If you already figured it out, there was no point in trying to deny or hide it. The lack of music is throwing me off. Of course I am. We're heading into the heart of enemy territory alone, aren't we? I'm worried about if something unlikely happens with just the two of us. Something unlikely? Hahaha. It'll be alright. Isn't everybody in this village our enemy? If everybody gets their story straight, they could murder someone in broad daylight and there wouldn't be a shred of evidence. I'm asking about something like that. This is what the ironclad rule of not barging into a Yakuza office alone was about. If there wasn't a neutral party involved, that area wasn't bound by the laws of common sense. If something happened, you wouldn't be able to prove it, and there wasn't anybody who would take your side. It was pretty much the definition of poking the bear. I left word that we're headed towards the Hinamizawa area. In the worst case, we've also got a radio. I know you're scared, Akasaka-san, but it's not that easy to pull off the perfect crime. Well, of course, that doesn't mean we can let our guard down either. Perfect crime. No beginning. Akasaka-san, you're too worked up over this. You were more relaxed the last time we came up here together, weren't you? Hahaha. Laughing it off, Oishi thumped his chest and grinned, as if to say I could depend on him. Well, if it gets really iffy, this comes with having the badge. Oishi made a motion by sticking out his index finger. Hey, Fog. Is this still the game? You've been waiting for this for ages? Well, this is chapter 4 of 8 chapters. So we're almost halfway done. Yeah. Oof. How's it going, Fog? It varies. I think the first chapter took us 14 hours. Second chapter took us 18. And then the third one took us 16 hours to get through. This one's supposedly, really short. So, supposedly, I should finish this today. We've read, about 4 hours worth. So, then again, we did kind of stop a little bit yesterday. Paused and... Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, how's it going, Fog? Hope your weekend's going well. Oishi made a motion by sticking out his index finger. It was undoubtedly the image of a gun. Will it be of any use? If you're not afraid of dealing with the aftermath after you shoot, it's actually very reassuring. How was Destiny 2? An officer's gun was only for show. If we really wanted to fire it, there were quite a number of stipulations, and you had to be prepared for the long probationary period afterwards. That's way too much reading for me. That's off to you. Thanks. It's been a fun experiment, We, because I guess the only other visual novel experience that I had was I Love You, Colonel Sanders. But I think that was very light on story, so this is fine. It's okay. It's a podcast time. Weekend not bad. We managed to finish my first raid in Destiny 2 last night that I'm happy about. Ah, nice. You enjoying this at least? I am. I'm enjoying the story. So it's a good time. I'm curious to see how this all plays out. That's all that matters. Right. No, of course. That's why I was very curious how the first chapter was going to go. But we're hooked. We're into it. Yeah, how did the raid go? I don't think I've done any raids yet. I've only done strikes, I believe. Because I haven't really played Destiny 2 that much, but hope it was fun. I'm happy about. It definitely wasn't worth it. So even if an officer did unholster his gun, there wasn't one who actually wanted to pull the trigger. Akasaka-san, are you carrying one? A piece? Well, yeah. You ever fired it? I have. For training, though. Well, I guess that'd be true. Foo foo foo. I'll leave you to read. I'm lurking. Appreciate the lurk, Fog. I'll catch you later. Hope you have a good weekend. Well then, have you, Oishi-san? Me? Nah, there's no way. What was this? I thought he was laughing at me because he had experience. Two of us laughed together. Also never pointed the barrel at anybody. I looked down the barrel of a gun a few times, though. Just being made to look down the barrel like that is enough to shorten your lifespan by about 3 years. Even if he had never fired a gun before, he couldn't even begin to compare the amount of experience Oishi had over me. At a time like this, I could only marvel again at how reliable Oishi seemed. It's weird, there's no music, I don't know why. There is audio, it's just at this point, okay. So don't do that. Okay, there we go. I was about to return to the main menu. Come to think of it, I didn't want to come this way in the middle of the day. But there's no way for a car to get through other than here. Akasaka-san, just in case, put on the mask again to hide your face, please. What's the matter? Can you not hear it because the air conditioning is too loud? I'll turn it off. Try opening the window. When I opened the window, a blast of hot air blew inside. And then I could hear angry yelling coming from far away. There's the music. Okay. It's just a little tense moment. At that moment, the forest gave way on either side of us, and our view expanded suddenly. And there could be seen the Hinamizawa Dam construction grounds, the very front line for Hinamizawa Village. We're absolutely opposed to this construction of the Hinamizawa Dam. Crackling blare of someone's voice sounded over an enormous loudspeaker. The roar of angry voices continued to rumble. The incredible volume had become a veritable sound cannon, spewing out its ammunition. The prefabricated site office was surrounded by 2 sets of high fences laced with barbed wire. Lined up in front of those fences were riot police and their vehicles, and surrounding it all were the villagers. They howled out their protests against the dam as a single entity. Oh, there's not too many of them today. We're in luck. That's not too many. Yeah, when there's a lot of them, the crowd reaches as far as the road. You wouldn't even be able to inch forward in the car. At first, due to their overwhelming intensity, it looked to me like there was more people than there actually was, but upon closer inspection, there were at most 50 to 70 of them. But the 6 or 7 propaganda trucks lined up that looked like they belonged to a band of thugs were a strange enough sight. The villagers were also wearing helmets and bandanas, as well as covering their faces with masks, adding to the oddity of it all. The propaganda trucks, after braying their chorus, had their volume turned up even higher and began to flood the area with sutras. To say that the noise was downright violent wouldn't be an understatement. From this distance, it was still this loud. The glass in the office was probably rattling from the noise. They can't do anything there but take it. Those riot squad guys, every one of them is wearing earplugs, but they're still having their hearing damaged. Poor sobs. Damn. Can't you do something about it with noise ordinance laws? The prefecture doesn't have any laws regarding noise ordinance. Also, those are sutras, right? Can't regulate religious activities. Those guys are pretty smart. They're gonna go deaf. Is what I think Oishi said. Actually, no matter how tightly the window was shut... Oh, he couldn't tell because of the loud noise. The booming sound of the sutras still filled the car. I couldn't even hear what Oishi, who was sitting right next to me, was saying. As the car approached, what does a sutra sound like? As the car approached the line of propaganda trucks, the blare became difficult to bear. It wasn't enough to just plug my ears with my fingers. I had to hold my head to keep my skull from splitting apart. If I'd seen this terrifying energy sooner, I would have probably understood what Hinamizawa Village was much quicker. Now I knew. They wouldn't blink an eye at sacrificing themselves in order to protect their hometown. Ah, so goddamn noisy. Shut up, shut up, shut up. My head throbbed and felt like it was going to split apart. My eardrums crackled. And on top of it all, I felt like I was going to throw up. With the road crowded with the throng of squatters, the propaganda trucks, and the right police's vehicles, it was in no way easy to get by. Even if you tried to shoo the squatters with the car horn, they were also wearing earplugs, oblivious to noises from the outside world, and wouldn't easily move. The car could only inch forward at a snail's pace. Even then, the car eventually got through, starting to leave the tumultuous noise behind. Hey, the bald guy that was playing mahjong with us last night. Remember him? I remember that there was an older person who didn't exactly mince words. The guy that Oishi called an old man. There was someone like that. You see, he's the foreman of the main construction site. He's probably holed up in that prefab building, trying to work while irritated out of his mind. Poor fella. You wouldn't be able to stand it if it's like that every day. Yeah. It's no end to the number of people who can't handle it and quit. But every time that happens, their wages go up. So I won't say it's in vain. Foo. Even have to deal with all that noise and hostility, and they still made a wage that Oishi found enviable. Damn it, these guys. Can they hear or can't they? A group of squatters were in the way of the car. Oishi, sufficiently annoyed, laid into the horn, but there was no indication that they were moving anytime soon. In this din, could they not even hear a car horn? Or did they hear it and were being malicious? If there were any riot police nearby, they would have made people move, but it just so happened there weren't any around here. Ah, jeez. Wait just a minute. Oishi opened up the door. The hot air and even more heated roar of the crowd spilled into the car. Oishi said something as he grinned widely, but I couldn't hear what it was. He was getting them to move. Something like that? Oishi stepped out of the car and closed the door. The din faded slightly. I stared blankly as Oishi headed towards the group and started some sort of conversation. Maybe we'd find the minister's grandson, Takatsudo. At the very least, I want to find him there. Find him, and slip the cursed bonds of this incomprehensible village. I could only pray. At that moment, a shadow was suddenly cast over me. Somebody was standing right outside the passenger side window, blocking the sunlight. I spun around, looked up, and realized who the black backlit figure was. What? Huh. It was a girl. It was Rika Furude. The girl stared down at me with a bored look in her eyes. I didn't have any justification for it, but I felt like I'd been found by somebody I shouldn't be found by. To fill the silence, I raised my hand as I mouthed a meek greeting. Of course, there was no way she heard my small voice in this clamor. But even then, she should have seen me wave my hand in greeting. In spite of that, she simply stared down at me with a cold look on her face. Oh boy. At that moment, the noise and heat spread throughout the car once again. Oishi had returned to the driver's seat. Taking a look, the group that were blocking the road had started to move aside while clearing their way. Sorry to keep you waiting. Squeaky chair. Shall we go? Oishi registered the figure of the girl behind me. One of the villagers came over and picked her up. In a matter of it's dangerous, so get away. It was then that she whispered one or two words, however, I couldn't hear any of it. Well then, let's go. I'm gonna gun it, okay? But of course, still within the speed limit. As if to shake off the still audible angry voices, Oishi floored the gas. Along with the roar and the din and the shouting, the villagers and the girl quickly disappeared behind us. As soon as we're through here, we're in Takatsudo. You okay if we end up getting into a firefight? Don't be fumbling with the safety at the last moment, you hear? Foo. Oishi laughed mockingly again. I was more concerned with what the girl had said, however, as I was vaguely bothered by it. What was she trying to say with that apathetic and candid expression? I suppose it's normal if you're nervous from here on out. But if you don't deal with it, there's a chance you might do something rash. But there is no longer a way to confirm what the girl tried to tell me. It might have been that the girl who warned me to go back to Tokyo again, or else was saying to me, who's here now, ignore that warning. Even though I warned you. What a fool. I had the feeling she said something like that. Just read lips. It's as simple as that. Oh, man. If you were to call Hinamizawa a rather lonely village, then Takatsudo was outright desolate. For your everyday city boy like me, I just couldn't understand why anybody would force themselves to live here. There were signs that people had, but they were all covered in dust or enveloped in ivy, indicating that it was all abandoned. People really lived in a place like this, didn't they? Well, it was a long time ago. A remote place like this is pretty rough for old folk to live. And the younger people probably want to try living in a more suitable place. There's nobody left to take the reins, and all that gets left is this. Even if I had no personal attachment to the village, seeing the disused buildings made me feel a little sentimental. It seemed that Oishi also felt the same way. Was the wallet found over here? The person who found it must have had a good reason to come out to this desolate place. Yeah, there's some villagers who have a field out in the mountains here. They pass by here in the morning and evenings. The villagers who work in the fields walk by here every day? No way. They probably go as far as they can by car. So in the early mornings and evenings, they pass by here and just happen to find a single wallet? They probably did. Hahaha. Where exactly did they say they found it? In a thicket, just a bit further ahead. The person who found the wallet just happened to have some stomach cramps and was planning to use a thicket to do his business, it seems. It was there he happened to find it, probably hoping there was some toilet paper in there. Oof, oof, oof. Everything about that story just seems a little too convenient. Right from the discovery of the wallet, I just can't shake the feeling that something's off. I expressed the feeling that I had from the start of the day, quite frankly. It seemed too good to be true, but it was unwavering proof. But it was too perfect, sickeningly so. That was my feeling. I might actually be onto something by saying it's all a little too perfect. Meaning, the truth is, I heard a little something from a friend of mine in the 4th Division, where Oryu Sonizaki referenced the kidnapping of the minister's grandson. She referenced it? Yeah. It's been several days since the minister's grandson has been kidnapped, poor boy. It'd be nice if they let him go soon. It seems that old Oryu muttered something like that while on her veranda, and that little musing was conveyed to the various people working deep behind the scenes at the Sonizaki family. Right. I had heard something earlier from Sato-san, the informant, that when the leader Oryu had a concern, somebody in the family would be considerate. So in essence, she gave the order to release the hostage? I see it that way. The wallet being conveniently discovered was just a ploy to hand the boy over to the police. Why would they release the hostage? Nahaha. Well, there's only one reason why somebody would release a hostage, isn't there? What is it? They reached a deal. That would mean the minister promised to halt the Hinamizawa Dam project. The dam project will definitely go away. At that moment, those words that the girl had said resurfaced in the back of my mind. In the end, it was turning out exactly as she had proclaimed. That young girl knew the circumstances. She knew everything about this kidnapping incident, from the beginning to the end. Akisaka. The girl unexpectedly called my name. What is it? Go back to Tokyo. Huh? Before long, you'll woefully regret coming to this village. That'd be an incredibly pathetic thing to see, so I thought I'd warn you right now. Why would I come to regret it? Stop whining. When you tried crossing the road when the don't walk sign was up, did your parents finish explaining why it was dangerous before pulling you back to the sidewalk? They'd pull you back right away, wouldn't they? They'd pull you back before explaining why it was dangerous, wouldn't they? In other words, it's something like that. Jesus. The girl, who knew everything from start to finish, had warned me in the beginning to go back to Tokyo. Akisaka is such a coward. Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee. We'll probably find the boy, but what happens afterwards will probably be a bit of a problem. How it'll be a problem, though, is something a single officer like me can't figure out. Do you know? A girl named Rika Furude. What I had said was such a non sequitur that Oishi sat in stunned silence for a while. Of course I know her. She's the only daughter of the Furude family, one of the 3 families. What kind of girl is she? Well, well. This was an unexpected name to hear. I'm a bit surprised. Does public safety think that the Furude family smells fishy and wants to keep an eye on them? Share some of that information with me, please. No, it's not like that. It's just something that caught my attention. Hmm? Well, whatever. Wouldn't do. It wouldn't do to not answer a question from a friend I've sat at the same table with. I'm honored that you call me a friend. Fufu. So that little lady is, well, somewhat of a village mascot. She's beloved by everybody in the village. Some of the older folk worship her especially. Worship? I don't know much about it, you see. Girls born in the Furude family have somewhat of a sacred implication, it seems. It's one of the local beliefs in Hinamizawa. The living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama, or something like that. Or so the story goes, apparently. Oyashiro-sama? Now that you mention it, I think I saw Oyashiro-sama written on some of the Alliance's banners. What is Oyashiro-sama, exactly? It's the name of the guardian deity of Hinamizawa. They believe it will exact punishment on those who would do ill towards the village. Well, if there was such a convenient god around, the guys at the dam would have long since been done in by divine justice. Luckily, nothing like that has happened to anybody just yet. The grandson of the minister trifled with the village as a result of what Orishiro-sama's anger was... what did they call it again? Oh, right. Onikakushi. The minister's grandson was deemed away. That would probably be how the script is being written. Ha 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 ha. I see. Probably would turn into something like that. Divine punishment wrought by Oyashiro-sama. Then the culprit is the living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama. That girl? Ha 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 ha. Even I didn't know exactly what I was saying, the fact that Oishi laughed it off was a bit of a relief. Oishi's joyous laughter was so infectious that I began to laugh like an idiot as well. Oh, this is unusual. Oishi, after laying to the horn several times, rolled the window down and leaned out, waving his arm in an exaggerated manner. There was a car headed the opposite way. Until now, we hadn't run into any other cars except our own. And of all places, it was at this desolate location. It seemed that Oishi knew the owner of that car. The other car also chirped its horn and came to a stop. I think I was too mean. Dr. Irie, good afternoon. The other car's window rolled down slowly, revealing a young man in a white overcoat. He was about my age, or perhaps a bit older, but you really can't judge somebody by their appearance. Why, if it isn't Oishi-san. Good afternoon. Ha ha ha, fancy meeting you here. That's my line, Doctor. I never thought I'd see you here. Foo-foo-foo. What happened? Oh, nothing, just a little house call. Oh, really? Was it an emergency? No, nothing quite that serious, thankfully. Foo-foo-foo-foo. I'll take my leave here. If I don't get back quickly, my staff will be angry with me. Ah ha ha. Being the head of a clinic must be tough. Well then, take care. The young doctor named Irie, after gesturing his farewell, drove forwards and soon disappeared around the corner. Oishi also drove forwards, but soon came to a stop again. He pulled out a worn map book from the dash. His expression didn't have an ounce of irreverence. He was perfectly serious. What is it? The clinic shouldn't be making any house calls today. Must have been quite an emergency, or otherwise a patient with some extenuating circumstances. Oishi flipped through the pages, opening up to the map of Takatsudo. After that, he took a look around and started to figure out what our current location was. Are you saying that emergency is suspicious? Didn't I say? There's hardly anybody that lives in the Takatsudo area. The road we're on right now is here. Dr. Irie came from this direction. Having no sense of our surroundings, I couldn't digest anything about the place he was indicating on the map. We're heading towards the spot where the wallet was found. By the way, that's over here. Let's see. If you're heading to one of the few residences in Takatsudo, it's the wrong road. Meaning, Dr. Irie came from a direction where there are no residents? As long as somebody working in the fields between these mountains didn't collapse. But if somebody collapsed and you call a doctor, normally you'd bring them back with you for a more detailed examination. But just now, Dr. Irie said it was nothing serious, and it didn't seem like anybody else was in the car with him. Oishi didn't say any more than that. I also said nothing more. That doctor just now examined a patient, close by. Only that. The noisy radio had suddenly gone quiet. The sky had just as suddenly turned an oppressive color. As Oishi mused that it might start to rain, a torrential downpour started, as though trying not to disappoint him. Eventually, Oishi stopped the car. The only sounds to break the silence were the percussion of the rain on the roof and the soft squeak of the windshield wipers. Let's do this a bit hush-hush, shall we? Saying that in a quiet voice, he exited the car without an umbrella, careful not to make any noise. Oishi leaned over, indicating the other side of the thicket. He was pointing to a prefabricated shed and a car that was parked beside it. The car looked obviously well cared for. It wasn't a vehicle that had been left there for several years. What's that shed? It contains equipment used by the Forestry Service. I heard that they don't go near it except during the summertime. Does that car belong to somebody from the Forestry Service then? Dunno. Doesn't look like an official vehicle though. I wish it was playing cool, but my nervousness was gradually increasing. Just in case, saying that, Oishi returned to the car. Thought I was going to get an umbrella, but he grabbed the onboard radio instead. Hello, this is Oishi. Do you read? Greetings. Ufu. Yes, this is the Okonomiya SP. Oishi-san, we read you loud and clear. Over. Currently in front of the Forestry Service's equipment shed. Not the one in the direction of Yaogauchi, the one in Takatsudo. We head there from Hinamizawa. Affirmative. Copy that. There's some suspicious people in the shed. Proceeding to investigate. If you don't hear back from me in 5 minutes, get in touch with the local police substation and have them send a cruiser as soon as possible. If you would, please. Understood. Well then, shall we go take a look? Since he was first confined here, he had heard the sound of the car multiple times, so he just thought the far-off sound was more of the same. However, the reaction from his captors was, until now, something he hadn't seen before. They jumped, reacting with shock by a jolt of electricity, pressed against the window, cautiously peering outside. They stopped. Somebody from the Forestry Service? This is bad. Nah, looks like a cop to me. One of the captors lifted the boy by his collar and pressed the blade against his cheek. Hey kid, keep quiet for a bit. I think you know this, but if you try and shout, there'll be problems. Toshiki Unugai was sure that the doctor had reported things to the police. He felt relief when he thought that he was saved, but not imagining that his captors would resort to violence. When they were cornered, his anxiety remained unabated. What do we do? Gotta buy time. Take the kid, slip out of the back. We'll meet back here when the heat's off. One of the perpetrators grabbed the boy by the collar and forced him to stand. Of course, Toshiki Unugai tried to resist by feigning that his illness had been aggravated by this rough treatment, but his captors paid no heed. Bang, bang, bang. The door was violently banged upon. Excuse me. Hello? Bang, 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 bang. I guess bang, 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 bang. The door was banged on again. Toshiki Unugai hesitated for a moment to respond to that voice by yelling. However, while he was being indecisive, his mouth was covered, taking that option away from him. The leader of the captors waved at the other to go. The younger perpetrator nodded in response, and while keeping the boy's mouth covered, started heading towards the back door. Yo, do you need something? How do you do? This is the police. Would you mind opening the door? Foo. This sudden rain has us in a bit of trouble. Soap, The moment the lock was undone, Oishi forced the door open. With a gleam of menace in his eyes, he pushed the man aside as he stepped into the room. Then in the small and empty room, he was able to quickly discern that the boy he was looking for was nowhere to be seen. This is an equipment shed for the Forestry Service, but there's nothing here at all. There's nothing inside the room that would indicate that this was an equipment shed. There was only a mountain of blankets, indicating that somebody was sleeping here, alongside empty food packets strewn about. It's been empty for some time now. Never seen no equipment store around here. But this is the Forestry Service's building, isn't it? You from the Forestry Service? How about you, police? Two of them glared at each other suspiciously. Both Oishi and the man steadfastly refused to reveal their identity before the other did. The man, judging from the sharp look in Oishi's eyes, realized that it would be hard to talk his way out of this one. No matter what he said, the most time he could buy would probably be only a few dozen seconds. Only the sound of rain filled this tense moment. Just then, they heard the sound of a struggle from far off. Oishi had a hunch. There was no doubt that Akasaka, who was circling around back, had run to the perpetrators who were trying to slip away. Hey, good job. Good job, Akasaka. As Oishi thought that, the man in front of him reacted a moment faster. The man swung with an attack that was more intended to obscure Oishi's vision, rather than actually hit him in the face. Seizing this opportunity, the man aimed a kick at Oishi's groin without any hesitation, but he missed his mark and was unable to land that critical blow. The man, trying to pin Oishi, grabbed him by the base of his neck with both hands and fiercely tried to push him down. But as Oishi fell backwards, as if kicking the man upward, he dug his foot into the man's midsection. With that leg acting as a fulcrum, the man was thrown by the fallen Oishi, as if by a circle throw. Two of them squared off in the pouring rain. Isn't this interesting? You wanna go? Oishi, as if trying to cheer himself on, grinned smugly. He then stood up while roughing the mud off himself. Even though he countered the assault, Oishi was getting up rather awkwardly compared to the man who he threw, who swiftly sprang to his feet. Oishi-san, hurry! Akasaka's voice rang out from the distance. Judging from the distress in his voice, he was already engaged in a fight and wanted Oishi to reconvene with him. But Oishi's hands were full as well. Akasaka-san, sorry, but can you wait a bit? The man raised both fists into a stance that hinted at him being acquainted with karate or some other form of martial art. Of course, Oishi, as an officer of the law, was decently versed in judo. He also had the moxie to have been through his fair share of fights before. Because of that, you could tell that the man in front of him was quite a bit better at fighting than he was. Ah, damn it. Thinking that this is going to be easy just because the order came from the Sonozaki family to release the hostage had been a big mistake. You're pretty good. It's been a while since I got this worked up. Oishi played off the situation like it was no sweat. His opponent, seeing his attitude, took that to mean that Oishi wasn't going to go down easily. The man wildly charged forward, attempting to grab Oishi. The man managed a successful clinch from his low stance. Oishi be tackled to the ground and ended up being mounted. It was something you saw often when children fought, but it really was a bad position, since you couldn't do much once you were in it. Oishi, responding to that move, also lowered his stance to collide with the man head on. The moment they clashed, Oishi grabbed the man's lapel. As he yanked the lapel upwards, he smashed into the man's solar plexus with the elbow of the same arm. It was a move from Oishi's own personal brand of brawling judo. He then grabbed on with his free hand and attempted to throw his opponent with both hands. The man lowered his center of gravity and swung his arms in a large arc, entwining them with Oishi's. Not only that, he had forced both of Oishi's elbows to the outside, and Oishi, now in an awkward position, was in danger of exposing his back with his hands still clutching the man's chest. This guy practiced Aikido or grappling, didn't he? And Oishi, cursing the fact that his fingers were twisted into the man's shirt and couldn't get away, released his grip. But he was still in the awkward position of being bent over. And to top it off, at zero range, the man was able to read Oishi's movements completely as he tried to squirm his way into a better position. And then took the palms of his hands and swiftly clapped them over both of Oishi's ears. Arrgh! Clapping the ears in any other martial art, except for self-defense, was basically forbidden. Karate and Judo didn't recognize it as a legal technique. It was that much of a simple and dangerous attack. Oishi raised both his hands as he tried to reflexively clutch at his own ears. But before that could happen, the man wrapped his arms around Oishi's neck. His thick biceps clenched firmly around the base of Oishi's neck like a vice. Oishi instinctively thought he was going to be killed. After all, it wasn't hard to believe that a man like this, who was accustomed to fighting, could crush his opponent's neck from this position. But his opponent didn't do that. He had chosen to keep his hold and force Oishi to lose consciousness. That's why Oishi, at that moment, even though his face was twitching, was grinning widely. Even though his opponent had a chance to kill him, he didn't choose to. He was thinking, this guy has no intention of killing me. However, even though that might be the case, the man's hold on his neck was by no means gentle. In no time at all, Oishi's consciousness began to fade. Having the experience of being taken down countless times in judo during student days, Higoshi was utterly blind to the fact that it was over. Damn. So what about Akasaka? Akasaka was finally recovering from the intense pain of being kicked in a rather sensitive area. So he got kicked in the groin. He had bumped into a captor carrying the boy by the back entrance. He had seen Toshiki Unagai's picture plenty of times, but wasn't able to immediately ascertain the boy in front of him was the real deal, with his mouth covered in packing tape. Also, with his limited experience, it wasn't hard for him to panic over how to deal with the situation. Of course, the perpetrator didn't overlook this momentary lapse. His kick landed squarely in a critical spot, with Akasaka not even having time to call for help. As the man flung the boy over his shoulder, he headed towards the front of the shed. But upon hearing Oishi's bellowing voice, he gave up on going that direction. He then dashed off towards the forest, as if the weight of the boy slung over his shoulder wasn't even there. Akasaka was lost for a moment. Meeting up with Oishi, who was fighting with the enemy, was by far the safer option. But he couldn't just lose sight of the fleeing man. Akasaka stood up and chased after the captor's back. He ran through a short thicket, branches and fallen leaves crunching underfoot. The tips of branches raked and clawed at him, small scratches inscribing themselves on his body, one after another. He kept on stepping into puddles in the mud, and his shoes were soon filled with murky water. For Akasaka, traveling through this unexplored forest was, even though this was an emergency situation, extremely unpleasant. Stop! This is the police. As he said that, he regretted it immediately, as it was but a waste of breath. There wasn't a thief in the world that would politely stop when told to by the police. To a city boy like Akasaka, running through this forest was an arduous task. However, it must have been no easy task either for the man carrying the minister's grandson. He neither gained nor lost ground in his pursuit. Akasaka, upon realizing that, gained back a bit of composure. Just keep on chasing him. We were running in the same conditions. In fact, the man running with an awkward stride was at far more of a disadvantage. They couldn't run forever. Eventually, he'd definitely trip and fall. As long as he was being hounded, he would definitely stumble. And soon, his wish was fulfilled. Whoa. The man had stepped in something and lost his balance was no longer able to bear the weight of the boy, dropping him. Akasaka, in all honesty, didn't care about the perpetrator at all. Just as long as he could ensure the safety of Toshiki Unagai. So if the perpetrator ran off by himself, it was perfectly acceptable. It seemed that Toshiki Unagai was important to the man as well. He didn't elect to just run away empty-handed. Akasaka didn't know what to do in this kind of situation. His first priority should probably be to ensure the safety of the boy, subduing his captor being less important. Grappling with the perpetrator wasn't something he planned on. But most likely, it was either do or die. Akasaka's moment of decision proved to be fatal. The man, aiming right between, or rather for both of Akasaka's eyes, struck out with a jab. Not wanting that, Akasaka raised both his hands to shield his face. At that moment, the man kicked at his unguarded midsection. Pain almost felt like his vital organs were being squeezed out of his body. He lashed onto his opponent's leg. But his opponent didn't hesitate one bit. Leading with his seized foot, the man jumped at Akasaka, applying pressure and pushing him down. Akasaka was unable to withstand that and fell, but under no circumstances was he letting that leg go. The two men fell together in a tangled heap. The man was desperate to pull his leg free from Akasaka, but having fallen in an awkward position, was unable to. The two of them rolled around on the ground, floundering about, trying to gain an advantage. Akasaka, who was holding onto his opponent's knee with both hands, and that opponent, with complete freedom to move his upper body, were in two completely different situations. The man gained a positional advantage on Akasaka, who was still latched onto his leg and couldn't move away, and pounded full force on his head with both his fists. Not only that, he found a rock nearby and beat it against Akasaka's skull. Black, black, black. The difference between being hit with a fist and being hit with a rock was vast. Akasaka quickly thought of letting go of the man's leg to free his hands to protect his head. But if he let go here, the man would get away. If he didn't dig in here, everything would be for naught. The boy he was trying to save was right there. He was going to save him and go back to Tokyo. If he could do that, and was goodbye to this freakish village. And crack, thud. Without looking, I could tell my forehead split open and was gushing blood. But I didn't let go of the man's leg. How could I? I won't let go. And the man realized that no matter how much he beat my head, he wasn't getting away. He used both his hands to grab my throat as if to crush my windpipe. I pulled my head back as a slight form of resistance, but it was of no use. The man's hands enveloped my neck and began to crush it like a vice. It was less about the pain of not being able to breathe, so much as it was choking so hard I felt like I was going to throw up. I felt like my stomach was going to turn itself inside out, but I could only endure it. Damn it. My throat hurts. Won't let go. Can't let go. Didn't want to be here. I wanted to resolve this and go back to Tokyo. Talk to Yuki. All about our unborn child. We're going to talk about our bright future. I had no intention of loosening my grip. However, it loosened just a bit and the man's leg came free. The man kicked as hard as possible and I tumbled backwards. My head was spinning, and I was unable to get up right away. No, couldn't even put any strength into getting up in the first place. Even so, I couldn't back down. If I let him escape now, this chance would never come again. Even just catching their scent was nothing short of a miracle. If we weren't able to get the minister's grandson back here, there wouldn't be another chance. The man tried to drag the boy to his feet, but the kid was displaying some unexpected resistance, allowing me to get up unnoticed. I grasped the rock the man had just beat me over the head with. Now it's my turn. Yarr! The rock should be able to supplement what meager strength I had left, adding more than enough power to my attack. My fist, still wrapped around the rock, dug into the side of the man's torso. Seems like it hurt him quite a bit. The man rolled around for a bit, clutching his side. Free from the man's grip, the boy hid behind me. Toshiki Unugai, right? Come to help you. For the boy, those were the words he was waiting for the most. But the crisis was still not over. That's because even though he was still clutching at his side, the man had gotten up again and taken a fighting stance. I could see in the man's eyes the resentment at the pain I had caused him, and the confidence that he could still beat me. If we were to clash head-on again, he might not even stop if my head were split open. Stop resisting. Surrender quietly. You should just hand the boy over. Do you want me to snap your neck? Who would listen to you now? Reinforcements are already on the way. There's nowhere for you to run. The man reacted adversely to the word reinforcements. That's because he now knew that arguing like this wasn't just a waste of time, but put him closer and closer to danger. Realizing that, the man shifted mental gears almost too quickly. Let's finish this fast. How about this? What? What the man pulled from his back pocket was, of all things, a gun. Of course, I'm a police officer. It's not like I don't know what a gun is, but having one pointed at me was something I'd never experienced before. Was it real? Of course it was. There's no way it'd be a replica of it in a situation like this. Put both your hands behind your head and lay down quietly. Don't get cocky, you villain. I won't do anything you say. Stupid idiot. Do you not know what this is without me shooting you with it? Then shoot. Reinforcements will hear the gunshot and head right over here. You stupid? We're in the middle of the forest, and on top of that, it's raining. They'll never hear a thing. As long as he still held that gun, no matter how much I yelled at him, I was at a distinct disadvantage. But I still had a fighting chance. If I were in his shoes, instead of wasting time yelling at each other like this, I would just shoot him, take the boy. That way was the fastest, and would suppress any sort of further resistance from him. But the man was demanding my surrender without having fired a shot, meaning that he either didn't want to shoot, or couldn't. In other words, the man in front of me was soft. If I could buy even just a little more time, the factors that would lead to my victory were numerous. Higurashi was probably on his way, and the reinforcements we called for before coming here should already be well on their way too. Not only that, they should have contacted the local police box. Without a doubt, somebody stationed in the village would be here much quicker than that. Damn it. Do I have to put a bullet in you to understand how dangerous this thing is? There's no escape. Don't add to your crimes. At that moment, I heard the rustling of foliage and heavy footsteps approaching. If Higurashi was coming here, it was a whole new ballgame. The man could have more than one gun. Higurashi-san. Over here, over here. Huh? I thought that time was on my side. but I failed to even imagine that the enemy could also have reinforcements. You could tell the man who had just appeared was one of the perpetrators just by looking at him. What are you doing? If you don't hurry up, police will get here. Stop lollygagging. Damn it. What happened to Oishi-san? Ah, that chubby fella? He's down here, down for the count. He is? Damn it. The boy, sensitive to the impending danger, curled up behind my back. How could this be? Damn it. Your buddy isn't coming. Serves you right. Shoes on the other foot now. As I backed up against a large tree while still protecting the boy, the second man also pulled out a gun. Won't be saying this twice. Put your hands on your head and lie down. I refuse. Bang. Oh shit. As I shouted in protest, blood erupted from my left shoulder. It took a few moments to register that I had been shot. Compared to the ones from the movies and TV dramas, the first actual gunshot I heard was simple and mundane. In fact, the sound was more akin to the small fireworks I used to buy from the corner store as a kid. But there is no comparing the pain. There's a fear you knew only after you've been shot. Sir, you okay? You okay? The boy, in his confusion, tucked up my clothes, agitating the wound even further. I wanted to put on a bold face and reassure him, but my voice was hoarse and had the opposite effect. I'm alright. I've already called for backup. There'll be a full squad here soon. It'll be quicker to pull one through your head before the cops get here. But that family said no needless killing, so I'm taking it easy on you. Don't mess with me or I ain't holding back. This was bad. It's very, very bad. The second man was a completely different beast than the first. He had no signs of indecisiveness or mercy. This man said he'd shoot, he'd shoot. He wasn't somebody that a man like me could buy time from. I really hated to admit it, but at the moment, the image of Yuki's smiling face crossed the back of my mind. I knew what that meant. I was warning myself to not throw my life away over a matter of pride. Of course I didn't want to die here. I was starting a new life with Yuki. I wanted to see the face of our soon-to-be-born child. Why should I risk my life with some minister's grandson when I was at such a critical juncture in my own life? Damn it. Damn it. I need to stop rambling at myself. So what do I do now? Give up the boy and extend my own life? What a good idea. Everybody's life is precious. My own life was in danger. Nobody would blame me. God damn it. It hurts. It hurts. If I'd known it would be this painful, I wouldn't have played the tough guy. My biggest miscalculation, though, is that the sound of the gunshot was far quieter than I'd imagined. If it was only that loud, it would be drowned out by the rain in the forest. It wasn't something that somebody far away could hear. Damn it. Wait, just wait. I don't want to die. And I don't want to kill you. As long as you understand. Don't shoot, okay? Don't shoot. I have a wife waiting for me at home. I don't want to die. I won't shoot as long as you do it. Don't yell nothing. Don't yell or nothing. Just quietly put your hands up on your head and lie down. Will you really? Will you really? Keep your promise, right? It's the promise between men. I will. It's a promise between men. Keep your promise. Keep it. You're gonna get down on the ground, okay? Getting down. Keep my promise to stop pointing the gun at me. You're still thinking of shooting me, aren't you? You wanna shoot me, don't you? When I get down on the ground, you're just gonna shoot me in the back of the head, aren't you? I won't. I won't. Fine. I'll put it away. I'll put the gun away. It's a promise between men. There. No problem now, right? Yeah, absolutely no complaints. Nice. It was over in a flash. The moment he lowered his gun, Iwishi didn't let his chance slip by. Iwishi had been assessing the situation for quite some time from behind the two men. And since they had their guns trained on me, he didn't really have a chance to jump in. Seeing the look on Iwishi's face indicating that he wanted me to create an opening, I took on that role completely. Nice. Iwishi forcefully lifted the arm that was holding the gun, then took the gun from the man's hand in only an instant. The other man, who was a bit slow in grasping what was happening, pointed his gun at them, but with his ally grappling with Iwishi, he couldn't pull the trigger. That man was the one that was wrestling with Iwishi at the moment. Might have shot without hesitation. But this man wouldn't shoot. He couldn't shoot. Ueshi kicked the other men away, and while aiming the stolen gun with his left hand, pulled out his own. With guns akimbo, he was aiming at both men at the same time. I do believe that's checkmate. It's perfectly played. But heedless of the guns pointing at them, the men shouted "Scram!" as he scattered away at full speed. It was over in an instant. Those two running away without putting up a fight was honestly unexpected. Ueshi, quietly clicking his tongue in admonishment, slipped both guns into his pants pockets. Those guys know their stuff. What do you mean? An officer won't fire at somebody who's fleeing. I want to keep my pension here. Ueshi and I grinned at each other. Are you Toshiki Unigai? Grandson of the Minister of Construction, Unigai? Yes. This is going to be a major incident. You probably only cut the tail of the lizard, though. Foo. Ueshi smiled amusedly. The fact that the Onigofuchi Defense Alliance, or rather the Sonozaki family behind them, was pulling the strings was apparent, but proving it wouldn't be easy. And with apologies to Ueshi, this incident was unlikely to go public. This caused an uproar that would obviously lead to the minister losing his office. With HQ having decided that doing so was in the national interest, this would probably be cleaned up quietly. It might be a rough way of saying it, but this was born in the shadows, and was going to die in the shadows. Ueshi probably already understood the implications behind this incident. For the time being, let's cordon off the area. Since it seems that one of them still has a gun, after that, let's get Inugai-kun to safety and get you to the hospital. As the tension in the situation faded, the pain from the gunshot wound in my shoulder blossomed once again. My forehead was also stinging painfully, and had grown hot enough to start a fire. Thinking that the tension had caused me to sweat and wipe my forehead, but what came off was a large amount of blood. I realized that my shirt had been stained bright crimson from the blood flowing from my head. I turned around. The boy was safe and sound, without a doubt. There would probably be an investigation on the men who ran. That was for another day. At this point in time, I could safely say we had cleared the major hurdle of securing the boy's safety. As soon as I recognized that, it felt like the lights in my head had been hit by a power failure. My knees buckled from underneath me, the ground there feeling as soft as a cloud. It didn't feel unpleasant, even as I was covered in the rain-soaked mud. Ueshi came closer, asking if I was okay, but somehow I couldn't tell. I turned off the switch to the last light in my head. Then, the exhaustion enveloped me. Sleep. Something softer than any blanket wrapped around me. That was a fun chapter. I'm guessing that's the end of the chapter, but I'm not sure. Tips. There it is. Very kind person. Mission accomplished. It's a phone. Okay. Very kind person. Wonder if this is about Coach. Patients admitted to the hospital can only accept calls at fixed times. That's why she shouldn't be receiving a call from him today. Yesterday, she had teased him that he got lonely easily, so he might have struggled with the idea of calling her sooner. That was much easier to imagine, rather than he might just be too busy to call. Because he's just that type of person. Yuki. Oh, it's about Yuki. Whispering that, smiled to herself. The announcement that visiting hours were over played over the hospital intercom along with some music. She exchanged pleasantries with the family of a patient that was staying in the same room as her. Because I can. Brothers! With the TBA. Alright, well originally, okay, I don't know, I was iffy on this joke. But originally, it was gonna be this thing. Hope you're well, man. I'm doing well. How are you? How's everything? Let's see. Let's see if we can bring it up. This might not work, but you know, we'll see. Yeah, good, thanks. That's good. I got some rest, but you know, we're here now. That's all that matters. Where is it? Do I just have to look it up on Google? Or no, it's this one. Okay, there it is. You know, we'll just. How's the story going? It's going well. So currently it's like a flashback or backstory. So it's like before the events of the first 3 chapters. So kind of setting the stage for future events. But let's see. I guess there it is. let's have a watch. This is TBA. This is what the points are for.
It seems that as a 13-year-old, George Michael had been heavily influenced by the Star Wars films and had endeavored to recreate his favorite moments.
I spent $2.1 million of good company money and end up with this?
You cut off my hand!
Worth every penny.
Alright. Star Wars. I don't know what TBA is. But anyways, you know, with Arrested Development, they came up with that joke. TBA was that. Worth every penny. So, we'll probably change that in the future. Thanks, brothers, for the TBA redemption. Oh, yeah. I think that was a little quiet, but that's fine. KW. But yeah, the story's been good. There was a kidnapping, kid got kidnapped, and we had to rescue him, and then cheers to the streams. No problem, brothers. It's been fun. 99,000 points. I wonder. Yeah, kid got kidnapped, and we just rescued him after a nice little scuffle. So, looking forward to seeing that animated. Which I'm guessing it gets adapted, but I'm not too sure about that. So, we'll see. But yeah. Are you going to be playing the Terraria update? Or... Because I don't know if I am, because I realized I have to wait for the guy to deliver the box spring for my bed. So I might be stopping short at some point. But if anything, we'll come back later, I guess. Play some Terraria. With the boys. I have so much to play, I don't know. Ah, gotcha. That's fair. If anything, it's always going to be there. it'll be waiting. But yeah, the announcement that visiting hours were over played over this hospital intercom, along with some music. She exchanged pleasantries with the family of the patient that was staying in the same room as her, probably eager for his mother to be discharged. The small child was wearing a beaming smile. Wind Waker, Dark Souls, Mario Maker, Minecraft Dungeons. Oh yeah, Minecraft Dungeons is coming out. Forgot about that. The child's mother was pregnant in the bed next to mine with what may be their new brother or sister. Words are hard. Words are hard. All flustered. But yeah, I can't tune in during the Dark Souls streams because of spoilers. But I hope you're having fun with Dark Souls. They were probably ready to burst with the expectations, dreams, and worries of having a new sibling. The joys of a growing family. I think I saw your character. It's like green. That's all I saw. No, I get that. Yeah, it's been fun. Nice. Very chill. Nice. Can it be chill with Dark Souls? Well, I'd imagine it'd be a little stressful. But I guess if you've already played it, right? So it's, I guess I could see. Bathing in those warm feelings, I stroked my own belly, which had grown quite large. Chill for someone who's played lots. Gotcha. It is being carried by chat. That's understandable. Are you playing with Quinn? I guess, and some other people? I talked with him about how many children we want to have. We talked about how if we had 3, it would certainly be lively. However, there was an inescapable worry of whether I would be able to handle giving birth that many times. There isn't a mother out there who would hate to give birth because of that worry, though. Yuki, smiling as she said that to herself, gently stroked her stomach. The Metropolitan Public Safety Division, the place where that man's sense of justice had led him. That person was actually a very gentle, very fragile person.
Can you hear me, Zero?
Quinn joined in for a bit. Oh, nice.
Can you hear me, Zero?
Brothers! Thank you with the host. Can you hear me, Zero? That person was actually a very gentle, very fragile person. Oh, good old Mega Man. He didn't talk much about the specifics, but I didn't think he was suited for the assignment he was on right now. But as long as he said he was going to try his best, I would watch over him warmly. Your father, you see, is a very hard worker, you know? Coochie coochie coo. Yuki seemed to be enjoying herself as she talked to her own belly. At that moment, Yuki suddenly became concerned about something and looked out the window. It used to be this time. Long ago. She remembered that when she was little, around this time in the countryside where her grandmother lived, the Higurashi would fill the air with their chorus. Can you hear me, Zero? This is the middle of Tokyo. Unlike in the countryside, you couldn't hear the song of the Higurashi. But for some reason, at that moment, Yuki felt that she wanted to hear that song. She could feel that Akasaka got shot. It's fine. Best host alert ever. Oh. Thanks, brothers. It's so silly. Love it. Well, that was chapter 4. Guess we'll see what's going on in chapter 5. It's 1 hour 13? Okay. I think we're not going to take a break. We'll just finish it through. Because there's only like 8 achievements, right? So that means... yeah, we'll be fine. That was my first time losing consciousness. I often hear of regaining consciousness on top of a bed, but this was my first time actually experiencing it. Hello? Are you okay? Realizing that I was awake, a young doctor called out to me. I didn't intend to respond, but it seems my body language had told him I was conscious. My head was wrapped in bandages. Scratches all over my body had also been treated. My sense of pain also returned with my consciousness, causing me to groan from the intense pain shooting all throughout me. Don't try to get up. Just stay lying down, please. It seems that you took quite a few blows to the head. I want you to stay rested so we can monitor your condition for at least the next 24 hours. Where is this? This is my clinic. Pleased to meet you. My name is Irie. I remember that this young doctor was the one in the car headed the opposite way earlier. Is there... somebody here? Where's Oishi-san? I'll call him over. There's no smoking inside the clinic, so I had him smoke outside. Makes sense. Dr. Irie left the room to go call Oishi. The scenery outside the window was tinted with gold. The pouring rain had stopped, with the voices of the Higurashi heralding the cooling temperature. I felt that the tone of the Higurashi's voices was comforting. Eventually, I could hear heavy footsteps coming closer, which I reckoned to be Oishi's. The fog that was enveloping my head slowly faded back to reality. What had happened since then? What had happened to the boy? What about the reinforcements from Tokyo? The doors of the room flew open, allowing Dr. Irie and Oishi to enter. So there's no serious damage, is there? Can't promise that. I assessed the wound to his head was dangerous at the moment I saw it. I mean, he got his head split open, right? Got it. I want to have a little chat alone with him for a bit, would you mind? Yeah, go ahead. Call me if anything happens. Oishi, after basically forcing Dr. Irie outside, shut the door. How are you feeling? Did something I'm not used to, so I'm pretty banged up all over. Hahaha. Oishi brought over a folding chair that was leaning against the wall and sat down beside the bed. Were the perpetrators arrested? Unfortunately, no. They probably already fled the prefecture, or are being hidden by the villagers. Well, we won't let them get away. Oof. What about the minister's grandson? They're taking care of him at the station, but your colleagues from Tokyo are rather insistent that nothing be recorded. Shigai-chan doesn't like that too much. Hahaha. The kidnapping was a confidential matter, so his custody was also probably being kept under wraps. How the kidnapping of the minister's grandson would be handled, how it would be covered up, treated like it never happened. would be handled by the brass. This case ended without the nation going into an uproar about it, then our job had been done. The possibility that the minister had negotiated with the perpetrators couldn't be ruled out. But something like that was no longer my concern. My role in this case was over. Sorry for the trouble. You must think that public safety is rather unseemly placed, don't you? No. We all work on the government's dime. Oishi laughed boisterously. When we first met, I was somewhat prejudiced against Oishi, but now that feeling was gone completely. It'd be more convenient for us if this case was handled properly instead of being hidden away. If that happened, we would be able to have something to go at the Sonozaki family with, since they were behind it all. Well, if we just start poking around, we'll get all sorts of pressure put on us, though. What a mess. Are you going to continue the fight against the Sonozaki family after this? Nah. There's all sorts of dark rumors swirling around them, but it's not like I have a personal grudge. It'd be wise not to step on any toes here. Ahaha. Noishi laughed happily, and I couldn't help but laugh along. Oh, that's right. There was word at the station from the prefectural police. Your colleagues arrived at Nagoya and are driving up here right now. Got your battle scars, so you're being recalled to Tokyo apparently. That's how it's shaken up. Good job. Your work in Okonomiya is safely over. I was being recalled to Tokyo. I inadvertently breathed a sigh of relief when I heard those words. Deeply thankful for your cooperation, Oishi-san. Seems the collaboration fee I paid you didn't go to waste. Hahaha. Kind of meant that as a joke, though. Oishi took out his wallet, casually pulled out several large bills, and jammed them into the breast pocket of my shirt. This isn't a refund on the collaboration fee, you hear? This is just me gifting you a little spending money. The booze around here is pretty good. Use this to buy yourself a little souvenir. Oishi flashed me a grin. Your injuries turn out to be not too serious. Call me before you head back to Tokyo, will you? The old man and Sato-san said they'd like to sit at the table with you again. Oh my. Can't refuse that. I'm 17 hours in, and I just finished chapter 5. For chapter 8. Man. Well, that's insane. But that's cool. How are you enjoying it? Can't refuse that. And no tricks this time. Just some plain old fun. They always say that. This world is done for if an active officer can cheat that blatantly. It's not often that we meet someone who's more than a match for us. It's too bad you're going back to Tokyo. When I heard the words going back to Tokyo from Oishi, I was reminded once again that I was relieved from my duties. Soon, Yuki would be given birth. It might still be possible to attend the delivery that I had at one time given up on. When I thought that, the pain from my injuries became trivial. I wanted to hurry back to Tokyo and see Yuki at once. 5 chapters though, 17 hours. It's very illuminating to finally get answers to all the mysteries. Still a few things I'm wondering about, but mostly curious how the plot unfolds. Gotcha. Man. I don't know when I'm gonna start that, but I'm excited. Can you pretend that your injuries are a bit more serious and hang around Okonomiya for a bit? I can introduce you to a few nice places. Of course, I won't make you pay for everything. Nah. I'm terribly sorry, but I'll have to take a rain check on that. My wife is due to give birth any day now. I want to hurry back home. Oh my. Didn't know that. Then you shouldn't be hanging around here. You have to hurry back home. For a while after that, Oishi asked all sorts of questions about my wife, teasing and bantering with me. It's like a 6-hour highway drive, right? Can you take the train? Or no? Well then, how do you feel? Think you can get up? Yeah, it's not so bad thanks to you. I can get up and walk no problem. I stood up and shuffled around for a bit, which seemed to amuse Oishi. I just thought that you might not feel comfortable at a hospital in Hinamizawa. Dr. Ide said he wanted you to stay overnight, but we still haven't caught the perpetrators. For the time being, this is enemy territory for you after all. Are you saying this hospital isn't safe? Well, Dr. Ide is somebody who's well regarded in the community. I don't think anything will happen while you're here, but I'm more worried about your mental health. I had relaxed a bit now that things had progressed this far, but it was exactly as Oishi had said. When I realized that this was enemy territory, I suddenly felt uncomfortable. But the only thing left for me to do was leave, The chance that I would come to harm was logically fairly low. But that didn't mean I was completely safe. That's right. If I'm just going to be lying down, then I'm doing it in a hotel bed won't be all that different. Then doing it in a hotel bed won't be all that different. Right. I also think that's for the best. At that moment, I caught a glimpse of the clock over Oishi's shoulder. It was the evening. The hours when I could call Yuki at the hospital were almost over. I wanted to tell her as quickly as possible that I would soon be back at her side. I want to call Yuki at the hospital. Is there a public phone in the lobby? Ha 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 ha. You newlyweds are all like this. If I recall correctly, there's one by the register. I'll be waiting here, so go ahead. Go ahead. Oishi, laughing while saying that he was jealous, opened up the window and pulled out a cigarette even though he was in a hospital room. Appreciative at how considerate Oishi was, I set out to the lobby to find the phone. The lobby was just a short distance down the hallway from the hospital room. I thought that this hospital was a bit too grand for a village like this, but of course it was nothing compared to the general hospital Yuki was admitted to. Running inside a hospital wasn't the best of manners, but calling hours would soon end, so I dashed over in a hurry. There was nobody else in the lobby. It may have been the evening, but there was nobody at the reception desk. Well, this might actually be lucky for me. I wasn't planning to have a conversation to feel guilty about, but it would still be embarrassing to have someone listen to the conversation between me and Yuki. Taking a quick look around, I soon found the payphone. Digging around in my pockets, I grabbed a few coins. I was calling Tokyo from here, so I'd burn through this amount fairly quickly. Picked up the receiver and inserted a coin, then dialed the number for Yuki's hospital, which I had completely memorized at this point. Nice. Whir. The number for Yuki's hospital had a lot of 8s and 9s, so dialing it in inevitably took some time. Normally, it wouldn't be a big deal, but currently, any time was precious. However, I felt that something was strange as I was dialing in the number. I don't know exactly how to put it, but it was as if the receiver was too quiet. That unique white noise from the telephone line wasn't there. Somehow I felt that I wasn't getting any feedback from the phone, and without feeling a response, I hung up the receiver to try again. The coin popped out from the return slot. I reinserted the coin and began dialing once again, but the receiver was still dead silent. What is this? Is it disconnected? While I was wasting time like this, the amount I had to spend talking with Yuki shrunk. I began to feel needlessly impatient. Excuse me. I felt the presence of someone on the other side of the glass, so I called out. There was an immediate response, and a man who seemed like a pharmacist came over. Yes, how can I help you? Pardon me. This phone seems to be acting a little strange. Could you take a look at it? The man came over and tried testing various things with the receiver pressed to his ear. Come to think of it, this is someone who worked at the hospital, not someone from the phone company. Just as I didn't know much about phones, neither would he. Huh? What's this? The man held up the cord that connected the phone to the wall. It was completely severed. Oh. Okay. What the heck is that? Well, this is a dilly of a pickle. Can't do anything with this until somebody from the phone company comes and fixes it. If you're looking for a phone, do you want to use the one in the office? Didn't want the people in the hospital office around while I was talking. Is there another payphone close by? Let's see, if you leave here and follow the road, you'll come out into the shopping district. I think there's a smoke shop on the corner around there. If you head that way, you should be able to find one soon enough. I was dressed in a hospital gown. I was wearing sandals on my feet. My head was wrapped in bandages. Just looking at me, you could tell I was a hospital patient. No matter how you looked at it, I was not stressed to be wandering outside. But that's where the impetuousness of youth came in. Choosing the chance to talk to Yuki for even a little longer, I headed outside in my current state. Follow the road to the shopping district. Should be able to find one soon enough. With only those 2 lines as my guide, I ran outside the gates of the hospital. With the village nestled in a valley, when the sun set, it got dark quickly. The sparse street lights lit up enough to start attracting moths. The Higurashi, knowing the time for their course was soon at a close, redoubled their fragile cries. Finding the payphone wasn't as easy as the person at the hospital had suggested. Was it still up ahead? Did I miss it already? Was I just getting farther away? Is Oishi not gonna track him down? Just as I was about to be crushed by the wave of uncertainty towering over me, I found a shop in this corner with cigarettes written on a small sign. My joy spurred me onwards. Just as I heard at the hospital, set next to the counter of the cigarette shop was an antiquated payphone. I wasn't wearing a watch, so I didn't know what time it was. I probably didn't have much time left. I probably didn't have much left, though. But it was enough. Just as long as I could tell Yuki my job was done, and I would be coming home soon. Picking up the receiver, I slid a coin down the slot. But I felt that something was strange, just like at the hospital. Even after inserting the coin, the phone showed no response. I hung up the receiver and tried putting in the coin one more time, but there was absolutely no response. This phone was dead. It couldn't be. Thinking that, I felt along the cord that protruded from the back of the phone. Doing that, my hands found the end of a completely severed line. What is this? Having now had the same thing happen twice, my bafflement was accompanied by a sense of unease. It seemed that the cord had been severed cleanly by a sharp blade of some sort. Weird coincidence, right? It's a little weird. Feels weird, man. But I may be mistaken, but it didn't look like much time had passed since it was cut. Excuse me. Hello? Opening up the booth window of the tobacco shop, I looked for someone in the dimly lit interior. Eventually, there were the sounds of somebody plodding down some stairs, and an old lady appeared. The old lady's plodding and lethargic steps, for some reason, only served to make me more frantic. Need some cigarettes? I'll need to get my husband. Not here to buy cigarettes. Rather, this phone here. Realizing that saying the phone was broken and asking them to take a look at it was going to get me nowhere, I swallowed back my words. Sorry, it seems that this phone is broken, and I was wondering if you could tell me where there's another payphone. The old lady moved her jaw up and down, slowly as if chewing on the meaning of my words. It seemed that she wouldn't understand until she had digested things thoroughly. So the phone is broken? That's a dilly of a pickle. You should try another payphone. The old lady directed me to another payphone that seemed quite a ways away. Her way of telling me was so long-winded that I inadvertently started to get impatient. At that moment, I spotted the clock on the dim interior of the store. The minute hand was just about to point straight up. Even if there was a phone right here that I could use, I would only be able to tell Yuki goodnight at the time I had left. On top of that, my destination was a remote payphone, which I didn't know the exact distance to. If I was of a normal state of mind, deciding to give up the phone today would have been the natural thought process. But at that moment, I had become somewhat stubborn for some reason. Unable to use the phone in the hospital, and coming out here and still being unable to use one, there was no mistaking that I had become quite insistent on using a phone. Ah, thank you very much. I'll try looking for that phone booth. Refusing her offer to draw me a map, I left the tobacco shop. According to the old lady, even though the phone booth was quite far away, it would be easy to find. If I just followed this road straight down, I'd eventually find it. Sandals flapping as I ran, I couldn't help but laugh at myself. I'll admit that I was quite steadfast about calling Yuki, but there were days when I was tired or busy when I couldn't call her. When I wouldn't call her. Even today, my entire body was covered with injuries, and I was dead tired. On top of that, there wasn't much time left. It wouldn't be strange at all if today was one of those days I didn't call her. But having twice been foiled trying to call her, had I become hot-headed about it? Was I like a dog who was being told to stay with a piece of food dangled in my face? What am I doing? Even so, I somehow couldn't quell the uneasy feeling sitting in the pit of my stomach. It was like that with the hospital phone, and the same with the one at the tobacco shop. Both cords were definitely not severed from being frayed by long years of use. The clean cuts indicated that someone had taken something sharp and deliberately cut them. But who, and for what reason? The more I thought about it, the uneasier I felt, so I tried to push the thought aside. How much had I run so far? The scenery around me was no longer that of a shopping district, with residential buildings scattered about the lonely road. The surroundings had already grown dark. I was blatantly out too far for a quick phone call, and it was quite obvious I was far removed from the hospital. I recalled the clock I saw at the tobacco shop. It might almost be me. Is that right? Might almost might almost be time. I'd run for quite a bit, so my breathing had grown quite ragged. If I just wanted to hear Yuki's voice, I should have just thrown away my reservations and borrowed the phone in the office. I regretted it a little. Well then, was it about time to give up? Just when I thought that, I saw the light in front of me. I finally found it. It was a phone booth. Now, if this one's cut... It seemed that the light in the phone booth had recently been changed, as it shone with the vivid white light. Although in the gloom of Hinamizawa, it was nothing more than a gathering spot for moths. But in any case, I finally found it. As my hand touched the door of the phone booth, I realized that I was breathing and sweating heavily. Didn't know what time it was right now, but even if it was just for a moment, I might be able to get in touch with Yuki. Since I had spent all this effort getting here, turning back without even giving it a try was out of the question. Before I picked up the receiver, another wave of uneasiness washed over me. I was worried that this phone cord might be severed as well. How was the cord in this phone booth? Squatting down, I followed the bundle of cables as they ran along the corner into the ceiling. At a glance, nothing was out of the ordinary. I ran my fingers as far as I could along the line to check it out. The only thing they found was a thick layer of dust. Nothing out of the ordinary. I wondered if it was popular in Hinamizawa to cut the cords of payphones as some sort of tasteless prank. It might be prudent to talk to Oishi-san about this later. Even if it was nothing more than a prank, it was still vandalism of public property. In any case, this one was fine, this time. Pulling out a coin from my pocket with one hand, I picked up the receiver with the other. But this time, before the receiver even reached my ear, I felt something was off. The receiver was light. It was more than a slightly unpleasant feeling. It felt almost sickening. To verify the source of my displeasure, I peered at the receiver in my hand with a measure of reluctance. What the hell is this? The coiled cord that connected the receiver to the rest of the phone had been ripped apart, the tip of the cable was swaying in the air. It was all I could do to restrain myself as a raw and unpleasant feeling worked its way up the small of my back. It was a type of dread. At that moment, I heard the crunch of somebody stepping on gravel. The light was reflecting off the glass walls of the booth, leaving me unable to see outside into the darkness. I steeled myself and stepped out of the phone booth. The inside of the booth was lit with that strong light, which might have made it warmer in there. Just stepping outside, I could feel chill wash over me. And there was the silhouette of a person. A small silhouette. The long hair of that silhouette was blown about by the cold breeze. Hey! Injured people shouldn't be sneaking out of the hospital. Somewhere in my head, I knew who this girl was. I didn't have any basis for it, but I knew that she was that girl. Right, Akasaka? She, Rika Furude, said that almost like it was a warning. Did you do this to the phone code? Her expression remained unchanged, and my question was left unanswered. See, if they're silent, that means that they're admitting it. In other words, no response. Regardless, I felt that she had affirmed my suspicions. Why would you do something like this? Why? The last word had a tinge of anger behind it. I frantically tried to smooth things out, but she didn't seem very afraid. There's nothing that can be done. Huh? I interpreted her words as meaning that I wasn't going to be in time for calling hours at the hospital. But thinking about it, that would have been a strange thing to say. Why would she know something like that? I could take what she said. I could take what she had said to have any other meaning. She just stood there like a mannequin, not even moving an inch. Almost to the point that if the wind wasn't occasionally rustling through her long hair, there would be the illusion that time had stopped. I know very well that you think I'm disgusting, Akasaka. Huh? No? That's not true. My denial came out almost like a bad piece composed for a poetry slam. But her words were right on the mark. I always felt something ominous and uncanny about her. Ever since her strange threats at the shrine. Oh jeez. Hehe. She had noticed that my expression was contrary to my words, seemingly laughing at the gap between them. Akasaka, you coward. Teehee. I'm not a coward. Being laughed at by this small child didn't sit well with me. So I said that. Even if you find another phone, it's too late. Sigh. That's right. She didn't even have to say it. It was absolutely too late. Might have already missed calling hours even by the time I reached this phone booth. It was too late. I had no option but to give up for today. Once I decided that, my unhealthy obsession with phones suddenly faded. Even I thought it was strange that I was that obsessed. That strange obsession, now gone, I began to laugh at how hopeless I was. I mean, just look at what I was wearing. It wasn't normal. Hospital gown and sandals. My head wrapped in bandages and my body completely soaked in sweat. It was a wonder that the old lady at the tobacco shop wasn't surprised to see me. With wanting to hear Yuki's voice as my motive, I had trapezed around the town the entire evening. Didn't know whether to call it the follies of youth or simply plain embarrassing. In any case, it was all I could do but to laugh at myself. Now, there's nothing left for Akasaka to do tonight. You're right, there's nothing. I'll just quietly return to the hospital. That's fine. Do you know the way? I hope I do. She waved her little hand as I began to head back the way I came. She began to follow alongside me. Looking at her face, I could see that she wore a mischievous smile, as if she was extremely interested in whether or not I would get lost. Is Rika-chan's house also this way? It is. Won't your parents be mad that you're walking around alone at this hour? Not really. My parents are busy today, so they probably forgot about me. Even then, it's best if you head on home. They'll definitely be angry. Even if they are, it's much more interesting to talk with Akasaka, so I'm fine. She said that with a face free from worry as she looked up at me once more and smiled. When she showed me that smile, the eerie feeling surrounding her faded. Is it because we're not from around here? But even then, she was still as mysterious to me as ever. We arrived at the corner I had turned at earlier. It was much darker than before, and with the point of view changed in the return trip, I wasn't very confident that this actually was the corner I turned at. I was not mistake. It had to be this corner. As I began to move my feet again, the girl grabbed onto my clothes. Isn't Akasaka going back to the hospital? Of course, at least I intend to. Am I going the wrong way? Short moment of silence. Eventually, still holding onto my clothes, she began to walk. It was the beginning of the walk to the hospital this mysterious girl would take me on. Oh, man. Let me adjust my seat real quick. Alright. The person who was running around cutting all the phone cords was you, wasn't it, Rika-chan? You shouldn't do that anymore. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Really? She tried to play dumb, but it was written all over her face. Ipa! It was obvious she was trying to laugh it off, but that adorable smile of hers just made me want to forgive her. I'm gonna be a horrible father, aren't I? That momentary lapse in tension was erased by her next words. It's good that they found the grandson safe and sound. Unable to respond right away, I sunk into silence. I'd already learned this from Sato-san's info, didn't I? This girl, no, this entire village, knew everything since the moment I set foot in it. I considered playing dumb, but in the end I chose not to. With everything being known already, there was no point in me feigning ignorance. Somehow. That's great. Now you can go back to Tokyo. Thank you. Are your injuries bad, Akasaka? Dunno. Haven't heard anything from the doctor yet, so I don't know if they are or not. Huh? Come to think of it, I vaguely remember being told to lie down and take it easy for at least 24 hours. Did that mean bed rest? The wounded shouldn't be sneaking out of the hospital. People shouldn't be cutting phone cords. Neat. I have no idea what you're talking about. Then I don't know what you're talking about either. As we played dumb with each other, we both laughed at the same time. If somebody saw us laughing at each other like this, it'd probably bring a smile to their lips. The chances of Akasaka leaving this village alive weren't very high. Huh. I don't want Akasaka to die, so I'm glad you're leaving the village alive. Rika-chan. Did you know what I was right from the beginning? She said nothing, but gave a firm nod. Well then, I think you know this, but we're probably somewhat of an enemy to the people in this village, I would think. But you still gave me lots of warnings. That's right. She said it at the time. She wouldn't warn somebody that she was okay with dying. She definitely said something like that. Then they should probably be thanking you. Probably should. I'm your savior. Saying that, she puffed up her chest proudly. She said it jokingly, but the meaning behind those words was quite heavy. That was because whether I lived or died was a decision that might have been made in a place unbeknownst to me. She said those words with such an adorable smile that it took a few moments of silence for their weight to settle in. I've been to this place before. The Defense Alliance's office was there. It was the stone steps leading up to the Furude Shrine. When I passed by before, I was so focused on finding a phone booth I didn't realize where it was. If I recall correctly, this shrine is Rika-chan's house, right? Yeah, something like that. Looking up the shrine grounds, it was brightly lit and energetic voices could be heard. What was going on? There's a festival today. Festival. The best and only festival in Hinamizawa. The Watanagashi Festival. Dun dun. Watanagashi? Cotton drifting? Just knowing the name is boring. Do you want to take a look? She asked bluntly. But seeing that I looked interested, she climbed up a couple of steps and motioned for me to come. I was only going to go back and sleep anyways. If I had nothing else to do, it might not be a bad idea to go with her on a little detour. In the hostile territory that was this village, I didn't know what would happen if I ventured down a side road without Oishi. Even though I thought of the village like that, when I was with this girl, I forgot all about it. In any case, even without anything to back it up, I felt that as long as I was with her, none of the ill will from the village would befall me. Hemlo. Ahoy, Manoi. How's it going, Ham? How's things? Today's Terraria. Are you excited? That's why, even though I knew my cover was blown, I strangely had no qualms about setting foot into the heart of the Onagafuchi Defense Alliance's territory. Hey, Ham. Terraria. Also, is the Manoi... Is that Doodle Bob from SpongeBob? Or... Hey, rather Smexy Beast. I think I read that line, right. Climbing up to the grounds of the shrine, I could see there were about 3 pavilions set up with meeting tables and folding chairs. Yeah, Doodle Bob. Ah, nice. See, Ham is extra excited. The old folks from the village, no, the executives of the Defense Alliance, were already quite drunkenly sharing another round of drinks. I could only see it as people from the village council drinking while enjoying the evening air. Heck yeah. At the very least, it was certainly quite different than any festival I'd ever seen. See? It's quite a boring festival, isn't it? Haha, certainly doesn't look like a festival. It's a festival that's happened since long ago, but as you can see, it's not like it used to be. Sadly, though, it releases at 1 AM later. Need my sleep. Ah, gotcha. Yeah, that's fair. That comes out in what? 3 hours? No. Yes, 3 hours, yeah. You really couldn't call this a festival anymore. It's just a bunch of neighbors getting together to drink under the guise of a festival. Well, if anything, it'll be something nice to wake up to. I feel sorry for the deity being celebrated here. Give this sorry excuse for a festival 5 or 6 more years, then everybody in the village will start coming. The ceremony will also be done properly, and it'll be a respectable festival again. What she said was not so much wishful thinking as it was the telling of a future that had already been determined. So, I'm getting some early 2010 anime vibes. I don't want to say because it's spoilers, but I'm getting vibes from that show with Rika. She wasn't even predicting it. It was almost like she was simply reporting the results. That's how it sounded. Even though it was baseless speculation, the way she said it wouldn't let me interject. It was the same way she talked when she changed. Yeah, more or less. While I struggled to find the words to reply to her, she wandered over to the other side of the grounds, not minding me at all. Not in a state where I could afford to be left behind, I hurriedly followed after her. Passing through a copse of pine trees, a strong and cool breeze ruffled my hair. There, from that one evening, was the splendid observation platform the girl had shown me. As it had grown completely dark, the modest lights littered across the nightscope were providing a different type of scenery. Looking at it like this village seems tranquil. She said that with an indifferent look on her face. By the way, JP, I thought the anime released first for Science-Gate, but it turns out the VN released first. No, yeah, I knew about that. So that means I could play without caring about the anime for now. Right, you could, yeah. I think that one has like, it's not like this, where it's a story that's just presented to you. I think that one you actually interact and do stuff. But I'm not too sure about that. Like, the anime covers the true ending of this story. Yeah, indeed, yeah. So, yeah, hope you enjoy it. Steins Gate VN has choices that matter to some extent. Gotcha. So yeah, you should enjoy it, Ham, if you got it. Just the other day, you said that this village definitely wouldn't be submerged by the dam, didn't you? She didn't reply, seemingly relishing in the feeling of the wind blowing through her hair. Didn't that mean, at that point in time, the minister had already complied with the demands? And the true ending requires either a 4D 200 IQ galaxy brain or looking it up. Oh, it's that complex. Oh boy. So people just watch the anime, I'm guessing. Or just, I don't know, they play it and then look it up. Man. Galaxy brain? She spun around, her gaze meeting mine, but she said nothing. She spoke nothing that would neither confirm nor deny what I just said. This case will probably remain shrouded in darkness. Headquarters probably doesn't want trouble from a scandal with the minister breaking out. But hey, I did some research on the anime. What did the research turn up? I haven't seen it. Okay, I saw the first episode. I don't know if I saw the second one, but I kind of didn't continue. But I obviously need to continue. But give it another fair shake, another pass. There's no mistake that they threatened to kill the grandchild. The negotiations with the minister were successful, and the grandson was released. Yeah, I saw the first episode too. Won't tell you the research in case it spoils. Ah, okay, gotcha. Fair enough. The one who saved the grandson was you. I wonder about that. The discovery of that wallet that started this chain of events. That alone was almost too convenient, I'd think. Ever since the moment that wallet was discovered, I felt something was odd. Oishi said it as well. That the Sonozaki family had given the order to release the hostage, meaning that our little manhunt was a farce to begin with. Come to think of it, I was punched, kicked, and had a gun pointed at me. I felt like they put up quite a fight, but that might have been all part of the good performance. Once the negotiations were successful, they couldn't just say, "Here you go," and return the minister's grandson right to his doorstep. They knew that public safety had realized that this was a kidnapping case and were moving in on it. That's why, due to the actions of public safety, the grandson was able to be rescued safely. Is this about the episode order? Okay. Wait, there's a certain order to watching it? I thought it was like, you finish the series, then you watch the OVAs, and then you watch the movie, and then you watch Steins Gate Zero. I think. Right? Or no? That's why, due to the actions of public safety, the grandson was able to be rescued safely. So the minister didn't give in to any unreasonable demands. That type of performance was necessary. I don't know about these difficult things. Likewise. Even for me, I can't make much sense of it. But there's one thing I can be certain of. Something about alternate endings and such. Okay. Apparently you should skip the final episode of Season 1. Okay. Let me look into this because I've read the VN. Gotcha. It's just as you said. This village won't be submerged. The dam project will soon be over. That wasn't something an officer of the law should be saying, but I naturally let those words slip from my mouth. This village may have stirred up all sorts of trouble. That was because they were protecting their homes. If someone just decided by themselves that I had to leave the house that I was used to living in, I would resent them as well. Oh, you played the whole VM? Yep, in Steins Gate 0. How much did you got it? Was that so when you did? On top of that, it wasn't a place like mine, where I just happened to be renting it, but a place that their families had lived for generations. It might be ignorant to call their desperate resistance an overreaction. I don't know how low it goes on sale. Yeah, I'm not sure what websites. I might not really be qualified to criticize politics or bureaucracy, but deliberately building a dam on land that was loved by its residents wasn't something I could get behind. Don't recall if I got it on sale. Probably goes for 50% off now, though, by now. Gotcha. Still, aren't you glad? Why would that be? At the very least, with this, peace will return to this village. Even though the minister promised to use his considerable influence to cancel the project, it would probably take more than a few months before it would be completely scrapped. At the very least, it would probably take 1 or 2 years. For the villagers to officially hear that their village wasn't going to be submerged at the bottom of the dam was still a ways away. Now I know the importance of wish listing. Very nice, the Golden Week sale. Yeah. I think I put Danganronpa on sale, and that's how it was made aware. Or no, I think it was maybe Dirt that posted something about it. Summer Cell was only a month away, or so away at least. I don't know, I read somewhere, and I was like, well, those are all on sale, that's great, buy those. So, it's a pretty good deal. I'm sure, yeah, Summer Cell. Just keep an eye out, yeah, I'm sure it'll be pretty reasonable. But it was no mistake that the promise of peace returning to the village was there. It turned out, from beginning to end, that it had already all been decided. Just as the girl had said, it was decided. Yep, looking forward to getting Steins Gate. Enjoy it. Let me know how it goes. It wasn't really a need for me to come here in the first place. There's absolutely no need for me to have come here and aggravate an unpleasant situation. If I'd never come here, then the grandson's release might have been done in a more amicable manner. Hopefully not anything else that might try me out. Drain the wallet. Peace? In this village? When I nodded, she laughed as if to admonish me, but her face remained indifferent, expressionless. Oh boy. Oh yeah, the Yakuza series? Oh yeah. Are all the Yakuzas on Steam? I wasn't sure if that was like a PS4 thing. But, well no, the remastered of, what was it, 3 through 5 was on the PS4 only? Or is that also on Steam? 0, Kiwami 1 and 2 only. Ah, gotcha. So that's what it was. And then, her eyes narrowed slightly as she snickered. Even though every year from now on, something bloody will occur. Tehehehe. Rika-chan, what are you talking about? As the wind blew her hair about, the girl, as if taking pleasure in that I was the only one who didn't know, continued to snicker as she looked at my face for a while. Pepper spray laugh. You see, in a few years, I'll be killed. Huh? Backlit by the moon, it was hard to tell if her expression that had been cast in shadows. In shadow was smiling, amused, or resigned. Definitely early 2010s anime vibes. You are? Why? Except different circumstance. It's a very unpleasant thing, though. It's also probably been decided already. Decided already? Who would decide that sort of thing? I'd like to know that as well. Turning back to face me, she showed me a resolute expression for the first time. After staring into my eyes for a moment, she turned back to gaze at the scenery before she spoke her next words. There's a lot of people who have no regard for human life. Even if I tell you this, it might not change anything, though. But, if you want to erase the specter of death, sometimes, like with the reflection of the moon on the water, all you have to do is throw a small stone. I had no idea what she was trying to say. It's just, I had to listen to every word with my body and soul. Or at least, that's what I thought. This day next year. Yes, June 1979. On this day, the foreman of the dam construction project will be killed. What? For a moment, I couldn't comprehend what she was talking about. By the foreman, did she mean that gruff old man I played mahjong with? But be killed? What makes you think? She didn't answer. But she had the same expression on her face as she did when she declared that the dam project would go away. That wasn't the face of somebody making a forecast or a prediction. It was something that was already decided. No. It was as if she was already reporting the results, that sort of expression. After being killed in a gruesome manner, the body will be torn apart and disposed of. Murdered and dismembered? The next year, in June of 1980, on this day, Satoko's parents will be pushed to their deaths. Satoko? It was the first time I heard the name, but I didn't have the courage to interrupt the girl's story. Might be an accident. An unfortunate accident. So I looked at... I don't know. Never mind. I'm not gonna... Well, I mean... I looked at Chapter 3. So... Satoko admits that she... pushed the parents? That might be spoilers. But, I didn't get that vibe. I don't know. Maybe I was distracted, but... I'll try not to look. But she wasn't exactly encouraging me to smile on with a lifeless look in her eyes. And then the year after that, this day in June of 1981, my parents will be killed. And then the year after that, this day in June of 1982, Satoko's abusive aunt will have her head split open and die. Like, I guess when she was explaining the story of her, when she climbed into the storage house, that's when she decided to push. Because she was, like, possessed. Satoko's abusive aunt will have her head split open and die. And then the year after that, this day in the June of 1983. Possibly a few days afterwards. I will be killed. If all the deaths are preordained, then the last one would also be all according to plan. But then whose plan would it be? Poor Keiichi. This village is full of murderers and people who have no regard for human life. It would be fine to believe that all deaths up to 1982 would be the work of somebody in the village. It would be fine to believe that all the deaths that occur were at the discretion of those who control the village. But that didn't explain what would happen in 1983. There was no way that the last death would fit in with anybody's plans. They had no regard for human life. They would use every means at their disposal to meet their goals. But their goals were at odds with the last death. That's why the last death was unrelated to them. But that last death would definitely, most likely, probably, without question, happen. Probably, definitely, I dare say. The last death would be a merciful one. A handkerchief or something being placed over their mouth, making them lose consciousness, never to wake up again. Exactly whose plan was that? I want to live happily. That's my only wish. Surrounded by my precious friends, spending our days enjoyably. Only that. I don't wish for anything more than that. Rika-chan. I don't want to die. The girl, stoic as ever, let those last words slip in the end. Poor Rika. Eventually, we were discovered by some drunks. The girl, as well as I, were dragged back to the festivities. Everybody was completely drunk, so even when they saw my head completely wrapped in bandages, they wouldn't let me leave. Well, certainly, if I was in a good enough condition to slip out of the hospital, it must not be that serious. The girl was mingling with everybody, being pampered like a kitten. Her expression was adorable, nothing like the one from just before, predicting her own death and whispering that she didn't want to die. Having said that, having a silly and lively conversation like this, it was hard to believe that these people were the core of an extremist resistance group. Even if it was a shell of its former self, it was a festival where people in the village gathered, so the 20-some-odd folk here should have included some of the village executives and other important members. Among those, there was no doubt that they were council members that were at the Sonozaki family council in attendance. Meaning, even if we never met face to face before, there were people here who knew my identity. In a small village like this, they knew the faces of all the villagers that lived here. That's why, without even saying anything, it soon became obvious that I was an outsider. But they actually seemed interested by that, asking me all sorts of questions about Tokyo, drinking while musing on the faint relationship the city had with the villagers, empathizing with the rather meager environment. Kind of like this tune? It's very chill, right? The confidential talks with the minister were finished. His grandson was in police custody. Everything was over. He might have to be put in another perilous situation. To me, they were only my adversaries because of my job. Outside of that, there was no reason I couldn't be friendly with them. Next time I visited this village, would it return to be a tranquil and beautiful place? If that happened, I might be able to take a relaxed walk around the village with her again. My cup was once again filled to the brim with beer. It's catchy. By the time I was able to get away, it was the middle of the night. The girl had, at some point, disappeared. It seems that her parents had told her to go home and sleep when she let out a large yawn. The old folks, who had absolutely no remorse for making an injured person hang out with them, told me as much as they laughed. I was just there drinking, so I thought to help a bit with cleanup. However, my help was refused on the grounds that I was a guest. On top of that, they had a car prepared to take me back to the hospital. Losing the battle against my sleepiness inside the car, I was sound asleep until we reached the parking lot of the hospital. The front door of the hospital was naturally locked at this hour. I wandered around bewilderedly searching for a back entrance until somebody on night duty found me and let me inside. Where were you at this late at night? Dr. Ide was worried, you know. Sorry for the trouble. I was set up by the people having a festival at the shrine. Well, they did say something about everybody in the town council getting together for a drink. My condolences. Are your wounds alright? They're throbbing a bit. It's probably because of the alcohol, I think. Oh, that's right. The detective that was with you wanted to get in touch. Oops. I kept Oishi-san waiting. I glanced at the clock. No matter how you looked at it, it was way too late to call him now. I'll apologize to him tomorrow over the phone. I returned back to my hospital room and slipped into the bed that was still unmade from the time I went outside. Well, that's no good. I have to turn off the lights. But my wariness had cut the cord powering my body, lulling me into a deep sleep. Is that the chapter? Right, that has to be the chapter. What is that? Just, look at my Discord. Raria? What, Raria? Oh man. Okay. Tips. Mother's diary, mother's diary, mother's diary. Okay. 3 diaries. There was something I didn't like about my child. First realized it when I started writing these things down. They never warn you about it in any books about raising children, but they aren't just a plaything. They aren't able to feel loved even when they're not doing exactly as their parents want them to, when those parents are failures. This wasn't something like that, though. How can I say it? It's probably hard to express with mere words. I just want my child to be average. As long as they weren't failing behind, there wasn't any need for them to excel at something. As long as they acted appropriately for their age, I would have been fine with it. But my child had been different ever since kindergarten. While the children in her class were running around in excitement about the field trip the next day, she only wore a bored look on her face, aloof and distant. When the other kids broke the equipment for the athletics festival and were apologizing fervently, she only wore a bored look on her face, aloof and distant. When the teacher was reading a fun picture book, only she wasn't smiling. Even if they got all to eat, if they all got to eat a delicious bento, only she wasn't happy. If it was only this, it would still be in the realm of understanding. However, what I don't understand about my child is that if the aforementioned situations happen again, they'd now act in the manner befitting their age. I'll BRB, JP, shower. Sounds good, Ham. Have a good shower. I don't understand the principle behind that as a parent. Why were they indifferent about that field trip, but happy about this one? Why were they indifferent about that picture book, but happy about this one? Why were they indifferent about that bento, but happy about this one? The former and the latter in each situation seems exactly the same to me. There was even times when I thought the former one was better. I don't understand that child's feelings. During parent-teacher meetings, the teacher always says the same thing. I always respond that I don't understand my own child, and we would mope together. My husband, always the optimist, once said that a young child's feelings are different from an adult's. So if there are some things we don't understand, we shouldn't worry about it. I lament his lack of urgency. One day, when I was in a good mood, I took the effort to prepare a menu that my child would enjoy. But she only smiled with a vague expression of disinterest. That attitude frankly made me angry, so I hit her on the head. On a day when the weather was nice, the laundry I had just hung up to dry was blown by a large gust of wind, causing the entire line to fall down. But she, watching me try to pick up the laundry in a panic, stood there laughing. That attitude frankly made me angry, so I hit her on the head. I think the same sort of thing happened countless times. Before I knew it, my child was only able to look at me with an indifferent expression on her face. I regret the fact that I've been a bad mother. Thinking I should regain her trust, I thought to get back little by little with some light interactions. Seeing her do some sort of craft work on the veranda, I called out to her. These past few days have been nice and sunny. The air feels nice, doesn't it? That child, with that indifferent look on her face, I hated so much, looked up at me for a moment, then without a word returned to immersing herself in her craft work. Up until now, I would have hit her on the head just for that. I held myself back. What are you making? Is it a doll? A weather charm. That child was using inserts from the newspaper to deftly make some weather charms. The forecast hadn't called for rain. But that child, in her own way, was praying that these sunny days would continue. Being able to understand my own child for the first time in a while, I couldn't hide my own happiness. Bringing out a ball of yarn, I began to hang my child's cute weather charms from the eaves of the house. Haha, it's no good, Rika. The heads are too heavy, see? They become reverse weather charms now. If they're like this, they'll call the rain instead of the sun. When I started to take them down, my child tugged at the hem of my shirt as if to stop me. That's because I made them to be upside down. They're fine. But Rika, if they're upside down, they won't be a charm that calls out for a sunny day, you know? I was making a charm for it to rain, so they're fine. I desperately suppressed the emotions welling up inside of me. I was trying desperately to understand my child. Oh, I see. The morning glories in the garden were starting to get a little wilted from all the sun, so you wanted some rain, right? That child turned to me with the expression that I hated the most. I got bored with the clear weather. I don't understand. I just can't understand that child. So Rika was the one that was red box, blue box, rain, yeah. If that wasn't clear before, it's cool. Is it the same diary? Same mother? Oh no, it isn't. During the family council, she buried herself under Oryu-san's futon again. Oryu-san dotes on her unwaveringly. No matter whatever insolence my child commits, she doesn't mind. It's almost as though my child is a kitten or something. Oryu dotes on her exactly like you would with a kitten. As her mother, I chided her for doing that. Until Oryu-san had said 3 times that it was fine, I chided her as a formality. Wait, great-grandmother? Of course she never lends an ear to any of my chidings. Knowing that Oryu-san's standing this far above mine, she behaves like that. I don't like the cunning that's unbefitting of her age either. In any case, not only Oryu-san, but the rest of the old folk in the village spoil her too much. One day, I was surprised. Or, is this Shion and Mion's mom? By chance, on the way back from some shopping, I saw her by herself just outside a candy shop. My own child suddenly grabbed a snack, opened the package right there, and then started eating it. Or no, maybe it is Oyo's mom, but just like from way back. She didn't make any attempt to pay for it, and she didn't even think of looking around. I didn't even feel like she was shoplifting, more like she was brazenly eating snacks that was offered to her. When I began to admonish my child, the elderly shop owner appeared and covered for her. The owner gave the ridiculous excuse that he had said it was okay for that child to eat any of the snacks held by the entrance, so it was fine. When I tried to pay for the snacks that my child had eaten, the owner refused my money. During that exchange, more old folks had suddenly gathered around, and began to feel like I was the one in the wrong. The elderly people all put their hands together reverently in front of my child, and repeatedly voiced their respects. I was born to the Furude family, so it wasn't like I didn't know why she was being treated specially. Oh, is it? Oh, okay. So for Rika again? When I was still young, it was something I heard often from my grandmother. If by chance that the child that I gave birth to was a girl, that child would be the living incarnation of Oyoshiro-sama. All the older folk believe she's the living incarnation of Oyoshiro-sama and spoil her rotten. Not only did they spoil her, but they even told her she was the living incarnation of Oyoshiro-sama, that she had divine power and threw all sorts of strange folktales her way. So she may have begun to believe herself that she was a special existence. I went around and told everybody that it wasn't good for her upbringing, so to stop tell her all these strange things. But there was no unreading the elderly people's deep-seated superstitions. I told my child not to listen to them, but it ended up being that she stopped listening to me. Between all the old folks in the village who would dote on her, and myself who only scolded her, there was no wonder who she would listen to. I guess the other takeaway theory that you could take from Rika's story is that she's the mastermind, that she planned for all that to happen. But that's, I think, too silly. It's gotta be the other. I mean, the other route is even sillier, but, it's fine. I'm sure they'll have an explanation for it. There was no mistaking that the reason she had become strange was because of the elderly villagers. There was no doubt that they had shoved her full of strange folktales and superstitions since she was young. If it wasn't for that, there was no doubt my child would have been cute and normal. Mother's diary. One sunny parent-teacher day. There was a cooking class and my child was making curry rice with a practiced hand. While the other children her age were awkwardly using the kitchen knives, that child was wielding hers deftly. The teacher approached me with a smile on their face, saying it must be a result of learning it at home. I managed to play it off with a vague smile and a nod in response. Oh. That was because I had never once taught my child how to make curry rice. Even then, she was peeling vegetables with the practiced hand, adding them into the pot, in the order of which took longer to cook. Okay, not that. That kind of seals it. For a normal parent, they might unintentionally clap their hands together, happy at their child's actions. But in my case, it was different. There was no mistaking that somebody had taught her how to make that curry rice when I wasn't taking care of her. Thinking that, I quietly fell into an unpleasant mood. When I asked, it seemed she could also sew and do the laundry. Well, no, right. And then the story about, she wants rain. 1% chance. I had never taught her how to do this, and again, never saw her do it around the house. Be it cooking or sewing or the laundry. Again, that was probably because the elderly villagers taught her all sorts of rubbish when I wasn't looking. And not only that, they probably taught her all sorts of strange superstitions, trying to prop her up as the living incarnation of Oyoshiro-sama. I said as much to my husband, suggesting that we should keep our child away from the elderly folk. But my husband, who was in the position of being the head priest of the Furude shrine, had little power against the elderly who supported him. He took the rather uncommitted stance of saying that as long as she was being doted upon, wasn't it fine? I argued against that. That she was our child, and should be a completely normal girl. That what the elderly were expecting, that she was the living incarnation of Oishiro-sama, was simply odd. The elderly villagers believe that that child has divine powers. We would discuss the weather for the following day, but there were many times when I left the house without an umbrella and came back soaking wet. Rather than having clairvoyance, that was just secondhand knowledge from her watching the news all the time. The things that she knew that she shouldn't have known were just a result of the people who were trying to indoctrinate her and the people who were gossiping getting together in the village. However, there certainly were days when everybody thought it was going to be sunny all day, and that child would certainly not go out without an umbrella. It would occasionally rain, and in the end, we would be saved. There might also have been times where Rika knew of major accidents in foreign countries faster than the news did. Thought that she must have heard it break over the radio or something. Knowing things she shouldn't have, something like that, was in front of me right now, wasn't it? That child was making curry rice when there shouldn't have been anybody who taught her how to. No, that couldn't possibly be the case. Somebody had taught her, indoctrinated her. When I wasn't taking care of her, somebody had indoctrinated Rika with something. Fruity Sen's curry is absolutely splendid. I'll give it a gold star. Nipa! Where did you learn to cook, Fruity-san? At home? Yes, at home. The other parents in attendance were impressed. Lies. All lies. I didn't teach her anything. Who was it? Who was it? Who was the person who had completely indoctrinated my child? She was my normal, average daughter, not the living incarnation of Oishiro-sama. Feels bad. Detective? Oh, okay. So that's the last of the tips. Which means next chapter is the last one. Presumably. Midsummer 1985. Oh, okay, we're time jumping. Cool. Back to the present. Sir, we're preparing to land. Excuse me, but will you please fasten your seatbelt? It seemed I had fallen fast asleep inside the plane. I was finally awoken from my slumber by the stewardess. I only had carry-on luggage on top of it being a domestic flight, so the time between disembarking and entering the lobby was almost non-existent. Arriving at the lobby, I glanced around, looking for Oishi, and I was met with a familiar gruff voice calling out to me. Akasaka-san! How many years has it been? It's been a while, hasn't it? Oishi-san. It really has been a long time. Oishi clapped his hand down on my shoulder, celebrating our reunion. Akasaka-san, you're looking pretty good. You look like a bona fide frontline investigator now. You're looking quite dapper yourself. Your posture seems a lot better. Is the ballroom dancing paying off? You should give it a try while you're still young. You'd be a hit with the ladies. A real babe magnet. Oishi had retired and moved to Sapporo, and of all things had started taking ballroom dancing lessons. He had apparently gotten really good into it, and had decided to spend the rest of his new life devoted to that hobby. He was aiming to get his instructor's qualifications before he hit 80, and live out his old age dandily. That'd be pleasant. I let myself into Oishi's car, and we headed out towards the Hot Spring Inn. I had originally intended to crash at Oishi's place, but Oishi was quite obstinate that his home wasn't suitable for that, so it came to this. At the inn, we relaxed while soaking in the hot springs, reminiscing about the time we played mahjong together in Namizawa. It seemed that to celebrate our reunion, Oishi had looked for people who could play. But unable to find a suitable candidate, we had to give up on putting together a table. As we drank together, we excitedly recounted our exploits during the final manhunt. Did they end up catching those two guys? What is it? Nope. In the end, the search team never found them. They were probably hidden by the villagers, then sent overseas or somewhere else far away to lay low for a bit. Ueshi-san, if I remember correctly, you managed to grab one of their guns, didn't you? Did you learn anything from that? It was a Chinese-made military pistol. It's probably from the ones the gangs in Kansai managed to smuggle in a ton of. Tried to get a match from the rifling, but it didn't show up in any other cases. How about on your end? After that, I was removed from the front line, so I don't know much. In the end, it seems like everything was settled under the veil of secrecy. Nahahaha. Ueshi smiled wryly as he sipped his chilled drink. What happened after that? Sure was tough, huh? This'll be 7 years now? Yeah. We held the memorial service a few days ago. I've become estranged with my father-in-law lately, so it was rough getting everything ready. That must have been a lot of work. So his wife died. It was then that the hostess brought in the extra drinks that we had ordered before. While the bottles of beer clanked as she brought them in, we halted our conversation. What Ueshi meant when he said it must have been tough. Thinking about that was still hard, but time had healed the wound. It was the day after, and I phoned Ueshi to apologize. When I did, Ueshi almost immediately handed the phone to one of my colleagues who happened to be there. Not only was I injured in the brawl with the suspects, but I disappeared to drink late into the night without leaving any sort of contact information, so I thought he'd definitely be mad. However, all he said was that it was something he couldn't talk about over the phone, that I should come to the station as soon as possible. At the time, I could only think that he must have been really pissed off. But when I arrived at the station, he said this. Seems your wife was involved in an accident. Having no idea what happened, I borrowed the phone to contact the hospital Yuki was staying at. After being given the runaround several times, I was finally able to talk to someone in charge, and after mincing words for quite some time, he told me. Yuki Akasaka was killed in an accident. The world became a blur as I sat there, dumbfounded. Yuki's death was unbelievably abrupt, unbelievably sudden. I could have understood if there was some kind of problem during the birth, but Yuki's death wasn't anything like that. On the stairs on the way up to the roof, she just happened to slip and fall. And she just happened to fall on an unfortunate place at an unfortunate angle. That was it. Wanting to blame Yuki's death on somebody, I began to think that it was an act of revenge by the Defense Alliance, that they killed my wife and made it look like an accident. What I learned when I flew back to Tokyo, however, was much more cruel than that. Yuki had a habit of going up to the roof to cool off in the evening. There was an elevator up to the 7th floor, but from there you had to take the stairs to get to the roof. Even late in her pregnancy, when the evening came, she would always head up there. Father had always said for her not to push herself, but Yuki insisted that until the time she had no choice but to stay in bed. She should be allowed to do so as she wished. However, I hadn't never once seen Yuki go up to the roof. I only heard that from her father and the nurses. That was because whenever I visited her, she would spend that time with me instead. Heard the reason why Yuki went up to the roof from the nurse she had become friendly with. She had said that her husband was away on business a lot of the time, and that whenever he called, she was able to cheer him up and give him courage. But when he didn't call, she couldn't do that. Her husband might put on a show of bravado, but in reality, he grew lonesome pathetically fast. She was probably just the same. Whenever he left for business, not clear when he'd be back, she felt very lonely. Whenever she cheered him up, she was actually cheering herself up as well. That's why, whenever he went far away for an important job, on the evenings he didn't call, at the very least, she felt that standing underneath the same sky, her feelings would reach him. Damn. That moment. I remember the words that girl had told me, that it was best that I go back to Tokyo right away. Otherwise there would be something I'd regret horribly. Yes, that's it. Because I was away on business that day, Yuki had headed up to the roof. Had I known that this would have been the result, had I done as the girl had said and dropped everything to head back to Tokyo, I might have been with Yuki on the day she died. If I was with her, she wouldn't have gone up to the roof. The day my wife died was on the evening of the third day of my trip. Yes. It was right before the time I had the sudden urge to hear Yuki's voice and ran around the village trying to find a phone. The girl had gone around and cut all the phone cords. If she hadn't, and had made that call, I would have undoubtedly learned of Yuki's death at the time, and collapsed in tears. Of course, even though the cords were cut, it had only put me off learning of Yuki's death but that one evening. In the end, I had learned of it the next morning. However, when I managed to put my emotions in order, I realized it was that girl's small token of consideration. That's the first I've heard about that. Yeah. It's the first time I've talked about it. Nahahaha. Could it have been a coincidence? She doesn't have any special powers or anything. Aren't you the one who told me, Oishi-san, that she might be the reincarnation of the god called Oyoshiro-sama? Well, yeah. The old folks in the village believe that Rika Furude had divine powers. Divine powers? She had originally said it was kind of a joke, but realizing that I was serious, he slumped his shoulders. I don't know if it's the truth or not. They said she did things that, like prophesize the future or talk about things she should have no way of knowing. That she was clairvoyant, that it was divine revelation. Well, all sorts of things. Of course, they couldn't give specific examples, though. Nahahaha. She prophesied Yuki's accident. I wish she tried to laugh it off, but out of respect to my deceased wife, he kept it restrained. Does that mean an active and capable investigator from the Metropolitan Police Department believes in divine powers and curses? Having him say that so bluntly, I couldn't respond. Of course, I had no intention of believing such odd things, but he could only say that because he didn't know what I did. Since I met that other girl, who both was and wasn't Rika Furude, I couldn't deny the existence of any otherworldly entity. Of course, I can't deny that it might not have been prescience, but rather a warning. Not prescience, prescience, but a warning. If what that girl has said was a warning about Yuki's accident, then things became much easier to understand. Is that motorcycles? No, it is. Basically, the line of thinking became that it was a threat, because I didn't go back to Tokyo. My wife was killed in a way that made it look like an accident. Not satisfied with the investigation into your wife's accident? Of course, I suspected foul play, pored over the results, and even carried out my own personal investigation. There weren't any witnesses to Yuki's fall. There was a possibility that someday somebody had hidden, waiting to push Yuki down the stairs. However, the cleaning ladies frequented the roof to hang laundry, and the security cameras on each floor hadn't recorded anything out of the ordinary. There wasn't anything set up on the stairs, and I was unable to find anything suspicious. In the end, even after my personal investigation, I can't think that anything else happened other than a simple accident. Well, of course, these were the guys that took the minister's grandson hostage. Wouldn't be impossible for them to push a lone pregnant woman down the stairs without leaving any evidence. Oishi's expression had completely sobered up. They murdered your wife? When Yuki died, I thought that as well. More precisely, I want to blame somebody, so I created the most viable scapegoat. But without any clear evidence, that violent notion faded along with the wounds in my heart. Did that girl know beforehand about my wife's death and was threatening me? Or did she prophesize that death and was offering me a road to salvation? If I had to choose between the two, I would tend towards the latter. Hahaha. Oishi smiled slightly in disbelief as he poured more beer from his bottle. Then if I may, if what you say is true, then Rika Furude was a prophet who knew the future. If so, why didn't she predict that disaster? If she knew that the gas eruption was going to happen, why did she remain silent? Even a few hours beforehand would have been enough. If the village knew, then most of the people would have escaped without dying. Great Hinamazawa disaster and memoriam list. Because maybe she doesn't know what happens after she dies? Probably. It was near the end of June 1983. Volcanic gases from the Onigofuchi swamp erupted and hit the village in the middle of the night. It was an unprecedented disaster where the whole populace was wiped out. It caused a wave of panic about volcanic gas across the country, causing people to overreact over any reports of odd smells. I hadn't heard of the blockade on the Hinamizawa area being lifted, so it should still be cordoned off. That's... It's my turn to be lost for a response. Well, if Rika Furude, the reincarnation of Orisho-sama, was killed, then the village might have incurred the god's wrath, making him call forth the miasma from the swamp to kill everyone. That explanation is what the survivors are whispering about. Sorry, Wishi-san. Did you just say she was killed? Huh? Ah, yeah. Well, I don't think it would be a problem if I told you. When I saw the news about the gas disaster, I remember that girl. I then found her name in the list of victims. That's why, at the time, I thought her own death she had predicted was due to the gas. It was after that I learned from the tabloids of the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa during the 5 years leading up to the disaster that became known as the Curse of Orisho-sama. That string of mysterious deaths lined up exactly with what the girl had predicted, so I always thought to ask Oishi about it, as he had been involved in the investigation. That's right. That was the reason for our reunion. But right now, Oishi had said, Rika Furude didn't die in the disaster, but was killed. Can I ask you about the last year of the curse? Maybe retired, but I still have to keep things confidential, you know? Excuse me, madam? Do you have anything cold that's brewed locally? High grade, if there is. I'll leave the selection to you. Oh my, I didn't mean it that way. Oishi laughed loudly, not wholly unsatisfied, and stopped the hostess to tell her that the cheap booze was fine. I know as much as was written in those magazines, but I don't know anything about the curse that happened the year of the disaster. Because the entire area around Hinamizawa was sealed off, you see? There wasn't much of an investigation that could be done on the last year of the curse. Even if after several years the quarantine is lifted, the villagers are mostly dead, and what few survivors there were mostly went to stay with relatives, their whereabouts mostly unknown. It's a complete dead end. Oishi seemed to postulate to himself as he stared at the ceiling, as if trying to work out a memory from the rusty cogs in his head. And then he said in a completely sober voice, the magazines made it seem like the curse of the 5th year was that disaster, but the actual curse really happened on the day of the Watanagashi festival. We took off a photographer by the name of Jiro Tomitake. He was the victim. Oishi gestured about how the victim tore out his throat with his fingernails as he talked. And the burnt corpse of the woman Tomitake was in a relationship with found in the mountains in Gifu. The Gifu prefectural police weren't very cooperative, so I don't know much about it though. There were 2 victims in one night? Actually, see. Wasn't just those 2. See, the next day, Kumagai-kun, one of my subordinates, disappeared, along with his car in the middle of his investigation. Kumagai was a youngster detective that was going to be partnered with Oishi after we first met. Didn't we meet this guy? Did he always disappear? Or no? He was going around the village to question people about the incident with Tomitake. He might have gotten caught up in something. If he was with me, he might have been safe. Even now, it still stings. That day, for some reason, I did a real number on my stomach. I had to pass him going around outside. Got too close to the truth and was made to disappear? That's what I think. Kuma-chan was young. No, Kuma-chan was always with Oishi, right? Was young and had a promising future ahead of him, but he still didn't have enough experience on the scene. He wasn't used to dealing with any complications. So, this is a world where Kuma did that and then he disappears. Okay. Oishi lamented the fact that he wasn't with his subordinates that day. And then the next day, see, you know him as well, Akasaka-san. You know Dr. Idie? You remember him? Ah, that young doctor from the hospital? I vaguely remember. For whatever reason, he committed suicide with sleeping pills. So that still happened? No suicide note or anything. The autopsy confirmed that it was the sleeping pills, but no Tepe murder. Nothing was in doubt except the motive. But isn't that hard to make it look like somebody died from taking sleeping pills, is it? And that's also not Shion's route, because the mayor's not dead, Rika's not dead, Satoko, and yeah, everybody. Any possibility it was a murder? He was single, no prior marriages. Didn't seem like he was going out with anybody in particular. He was the coach of a local junior baseball team and was on good terms with the villagers. He was liked by everybody. We couldn't find anybody who would want to do him harm. Well, any chances to investigate were ruined by the disaster, though. There's no way to find out anything about him now. Then what about Rika Furude's death? It was the day of. Around noon, some of the old folks who were visiting the shrine discovered the corpse of Rika Furude. Murder? Before we continue, you should probably stop eating that squid salmon. Salmon? That bad? Mushi nodded firmly. The corpse was found on the shrine grounds, next to the donation box, although she was probably killed somewhere else. That's because while she was completely naked, there wasn't any dirt on the soles of her feet. Any sign it was some sort of sexual assault? Lurker, my dude, hope you're having a great day so far. Hey, Supa! Thanks for the lurk. Hope you have a great day as well. According to the autopsy, there wasn't any indication of that. What we know is that she was rendered unconscious by some sort of drug, carried to that place, then had her abdomen sliced wide open. Her organs were deliberately removed and scattered about. Gross. Unconscious? Then she wasn't cut open after her death? Spexy Supa appeared. That's horrible. That girl's prediction was right on the mark. Yeah, she did say that she passes out, right? And then she dies. Pretty sure she was more detailed about the other deaths that led up to her own. For example, I think she said that the housewife that was beaten to death on the 4th year had her head split open. But in that case, did she know that her own death would be so terrible? There must have been some moments where she wants to doubt the validity of her own predictions. But as people died exactly as prophesied, as the years passed, that prophecy would only come closer to fruition. And then, facing the final year, unable to struggle against her own destiny, her all too young life was snuffed out. And in such a cruel way. Knowing that her days were numbered, and unable to fight the tide of events heralding her end, my heart ached at her helplessness. About the way she died, it seems like it wasn't just somebody's sick taste. What I'm saying is, I told you before about how Hinamizawa used to be home to demons, didn't I? Yeah, I think I remember. The festival in Hinamizawa village, Watanagashi de Cotton Drift, seems to stem from the drifting of entrails. It seems that it came from the man-eating demons ripping apart their victims and throwing their organs into the river. In other words, in Hinamizawa, pulling out entrails had some sort of religious meaning? Well, this is according to the old tales in Hinamizawa, you see. To act as an arbitrator so that the humans and the man-eating demons could live together peacefully, a god known as Orishiro-sama descended from the heavens. If I recall, Rika Furude was said to be the living incarnation of that Orishiro-sama, wasn't she? Yeah. So, cutting open Rika Furude, who was a living god, would be to the village nothing less than absolute sacrilege. Absolute sacrilege. In other words, you mean sacrilege towards Orishiro-sama. The rest you should know, Akasaka-san. The wrath of Orishiro-sama would occur that same night. The Great Hinamizawa Disaster. The official explanation was that some swamp upstream erupted with toxic volcanic gas which enveloped the village. But that's not what happened. The swamp where it erupted was called Onigafuchi Swamp. It was the origin of Hinamizawa's old name, Onigafuchi Village. According to village lore, the depths of the swamp apparently led to hell, where the man-eating demons came from. Because how else would Keiichi live? Right. This was in the interview. It almost seems too perfect. Oh no, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There was another bit of folklore in the village. If Orishiro-sama became angry, the cauldron of hell would open up and miasma would flow out, or so they say. To the villagers, hell was at the bottom of the swamp. So basically the miasma poured out, smothering the village. Yeah. Basically, due to the sacrilegious way that Rika Furude, the living incarnation of Orishio-sama, was killed, the village incurred the wrath of Orishio-sama in the form of that disaster. That seems to be their explanation. So what you're saying is that the disaster wasn't a natural one? Well, everything does seem to fit together a little too well. If Orishio-sama's curse doesn't really exist and everything really was just a matter of coincidence, I would doubt it. A wry smile formed on Oishi's face as he listened to my absurd take on things. He wore an expression as though, even if it were absurd, there was a time he had thought the same thing as well. In regards to the religious beliefs of the villagers, suppose there was a more fanatical following among them. That group created a situation that would occur where it shows Sama's wrath, and enacted the disaster to make it seem like the truth. Of course I won't laugh. I wandered down that line of reasoning more than once myself. However, even though Hinamizawa is a small village, it still has a population of over 1,000 people. To murder that many people in a single night doesn't seem realistic, no matter how you think about it. It is true. The gas eruption was believed to have happened at around 2 a.m., several hours before dawn. In that short amount of time, going around and killing all the villagers in a way that made it look like poison gas didn't seem feasible at all. The swamp the gas erupted from still had some religious significance, didn't it? If that's the case, then maybe there was something set up in the swamp, something that could be activated whenever a divine verdict was rendered. According to the JSDF press release, the swamp was declared the source of the eruption. This was after everything was thoroughly looked over by their investigative team. If anything like that was set up, I think they would have found it. Wouldn't necessarily have to be in the swamp itself. Come on, haven't you ever heard about it? The old story about how when a faraway spring dried up, the village spring dried up as well? What do you mean by that? Many waterways are connected by underground aquifers. Swamps and springs are only the parts that manage to pop above the surface. So what you're saying is that Onigafuchi Swamp is connected to another swamp or spring. And there's something the villagers rigged up there long ago, something that changes the pressure of Onigafuchi Swamp, causing it to erupt with poison gas. Is that what you're getting at? Oishi laughed heartily, commending the fact that the youngins have a nice, flexible way of thinking. That was the former detective in him. Even though it was a hypothesis that he didn't come up with, he still had the presence of mind to not dismiss it right away. That's an interesting theory. If that proves to be true, then it would be unprecedentedly the largest mass murder in the history of Japan. Once the quarantine on Hinamizawa village is lifted, I think it should definitely be investigated. Ushi-san, do you still have any connections with the prefectural police? Somewhat. I'm an honorary advisor for their judo classes, so even now I pop by during the summer training camps and such. I don't know when the quarantine on Hinamizawa village will be lifted, but please, let me help investigate. Got it. Oishi-san, how do you feel about the string of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa? They call the curse of Orishio-sama. At the time, the villagers were putting a lot of pressure on the station. The official stance on things was that the cases were unrelated, that each case was separate, each with its own resolution. That couldn't be. Even though it was blatantly obvious that the cases were connected, based on the villagers' religious beliefs. Akasaka-san, we can only say that now because of the rather grandiose way things ended after 5 years. At the time, those coincidental incidents just happened to coincidentally occur on the day of the Tanagashi. It would be nice if nothing happened this year kind of feel to it. Coincidence? The girl predicted everything from the beginning. Girl? Rika Furude. That child warned me about all the incidents that would happen afterwards. Akasaka-san. Is that true? Yes. The girl said as much. That the next year the damn foreman would be killed and his corpse dismembered. Not only that, she warned me of all the events that would transpire in the following years. Akasaka-san, when she told you all that, what year was it? When I met the girl, I was investigating the kidnapping incident, so June of 1978. A year before the dismemberment murder. Wrinkles formed between Noishi's eyebrows as he closed his eyes and began to digest what I just told him. Akasaka-san, if you're wrong about Rika Furude knowing the future through some divine medium, this is getting ridiculous. Yep. If you're just trying to shock me, I'm gonna be really angry, you know? I'm speaking the truth. Then the script behind the chain of mysterious deaths was written a year before it even started. And just as predicted, Rika Furude was killed. At first I thought she meant that she would be killed in the disaster. However, now I know that her death wasn't due to that, but rather than an atrocious one at the hands of a murderer. She said she would be killed. At that point in time, she knew more or less how her own death would occur. Yo man, hey Dan, how's it going? Saw that you posted that pic in the food. What was that? I didn't get a closer look of it. But how's it going? How's Shadow of the Colossus? Then why didn't Rika Furude not try and run away? Even if her death was already spelled out for her, knowing that, she still had a grace period of several years, didn't she? She had plenty of time to try and run away or consult the police. Why did she just accept her death with no resistance? I don't know. Even though Rika Furude was doted upon by the older folks in the village, you see, after she lost her parents, she had no living relatives and lived a fairly solitary life other than hanging around with some close friends. Might have been she didn't have any power to fight or anybody to rely on. She must have tried signaling somebody for help in regards to her own death, though. Must have drank a lot last night. Do I remember Shadow of the Colossus? Ah, I see. Oh yeah, how was Final Fantasy VII? I couldn't stop by, but tried to lurk when I could. I hope you enjoyed it. I know very well that the village and the police weren't very amicable with one another, Akasaka-san. At the very least, I never heard anything about Rika Furude seeking protection from anybody. Or it could be that she simply resigned herself to being a religious sacrifice. Could have been something like that. There's no way that was the case. I spoke decisively. At that time, she said it. She had definitely said that she wanted to live happily, that she wanted to spend her time surrounded by her dear friends. She hadn't given up on life, she had hoped to keep on living. Ah. At that moment I became dumbstruck. What's the matter? Akasaka-san. No, it's nothing. I fell into silence. Oishi folded his arms, began murmuring in contemplation again. Eventually he stood up and headed towards the hallway to find the hostess, yelling that he wanted a pen and paper. And when Oishi, noisy even though he was just thinking, left, the room immediately fell into a chilled silence. I stood up. It was then I realized that I was drunk enough to be unsteady on my feet. When I slid up in the window, a beautiful yet somehow ephemeral moon drifted across the night sky. It was just now that I realized she hadn't accepted her own death. She wanted to keep living, happily and joyously. She had said that quite clearly to me, but I was a fool. I hadn't been asked explicitly, so I hadn't realized it. She had made it clear as day that she didn't want to die. Wasn't that her cry for help? She didn't say as much that she wanted help. But even given that, it wasn't as though she wasn't looking for salvation. Without any family and unable to trust the police, she instead told somebody without any relation to the village. Somebody from a faraway place. Me. Help me. She had gone around and cut the phone cords. If I'd made that phone call and learned of Yuki's death, I probably would have fallen into despair. If I was in that state, even if she was looking for help, her cries would have fallen on deaf ears. That's why. Knowing everything, she had cut the phone cords. She wanted even a little time to seek help from me. Oishi, just before now, had lamented that one of the younger officers got mixed up in the case, having been erased because he wasn't there. I was feeling the same way. If only I was there in June of 1983. I could have protected her. In 1983, it would have been 5 years since the kidnapping took place. While raising the only daughter, Yuki had left me, putting all my youth and passion into my work, owning my wits and courage, wrestling with difficult cases. Nothing like my failings during the kidnapping incident would have occurred. I wouldn't have been slow to react in a one-on-one fight. And by that point, I'd jump into foreign mafia, run gambling parlors where I'd learned to deal with automatic weapons, let alone handguns. I had grown so much that in 1983, I couldn't have been even compared to how I was in 1978. 5 years difference. Could be super strong. That's why, if I was by her side, I should have been able to save her life. No matter what conspiracy or foul plots drew near, I definitely would have protected her. She, even though sounding resigned, should have still been able to ask me for help. I just didn't realize it. I couldn't realize it. Just as I wouldn't have realized if I was told of Yuki's accident, I wasn't able to realize it. I wanted to cry. If I'd taken her words to heart, I would have prevented Yuki's accident, and I would have been able to protect the girl to whom I owed a debt from even a predetermined death. She must have been expecting that from me. I learned about the disaster while watching television in my house. Until I learned about that, I had forgotten about Hinamizawa. In order to recover from the shock of Yuki's death, I tried to remove everything about the place from my memory. What an ungrateful fool I was. Even though in exchange for saving her, the girl had told me of a way to save Yuki. I was unable to accept her gratitude. Now here we were. She hadn't died in her sleep due to a natural disaster. She was split open while still alive, killed while suffering the disgrace of having her organs torn out. She must have known beforehand that on that day, on that year, she would be killed in such a terrifying way. But even knowing what end awaited her, she was all too weak. A lone girl, without anybody to rely upon, unable to seek help, had to swallow her own predetermined fate, death, and left this mortal coil. She said she wanted to live. She said she just wanted to live happily. That's all she wanted. She didn't ask for anything extravagant. For any person that was ever born, it was the very basis of desires. She never said a peep about wanting money, or that she wished she was in somebody else's situation. She had said it. But if all deaths were preordained, then hers was probably also all according to plan. She might have been a lone, frail girl. I don't think she would have accepted it all without at least putting up a fight. There must have been, in some small way, some form of resistance that she mustered. And with what she could muster, seeking my help was part of that. God damn it. I howled. I stomped the floor. Why did I become a police officer in the first place? How could I call myself an officer if I couldn't save a single girl from the misfortune that was awaiting her? Was it because there was so much going on at the time I couldn't process the fact that she was asking for help? Yeah, that's right. I was still green. If I was in that situation now, I would have definitely been able to help her. But it was already all over. Even if I wanted to sell the regrets she left behind, Hinamizawa, as a dangerous area, was still quarantined. Most of the people involved were already dead, with the few that did remain spread around the country, unable to be traced. The stage of that tragedy was still off limits as well. The police investigation was put on hold, the case slowly being buried in the sands of time. Just like how I wouldn't have known unless Oishi had asked me about it. Akasaka-san, are you okay? At some point, Oishi had returned with a notebook in hand. Until I saw expression on Oishi's face, I didn't realize that I was in tears. I never realized she wanted help. Akasaka-san, calm down. But it's all too late now. She was killed in such an atrocious manner. She was counting on me, but I couldn't save her. I might also be at fault for not building up an amicable relationship with the village. If Rika Furude had told me about it, I might have been able to extend a helping hand. I wasn't able to build up enough trust for that. That's something I regret. When Oishi said the word trust, it weighed on me even more. Yes, she had given me her trust. She trusted me. Meaning that she thought that I would have been able to ward off the fate of her foreseen death. She believed in that. I cried. I fell to my hands and knees as I began to bawl. Eventually, Oishi spoke quietly. Akasaka-san, does it upset you? It does. Then, There's only one way worth mentioning for Rika Furude to have her revenge. Is there really? Is there a way to do that? She showed me the pen and notebook. In order to properly mourn the death of Rika Furude, we have to at least find out the truth. The truth? Yes, not just Rika Furude. Lots of people died. Their lament must be immeasurable. But their deaths were left unsettled because of the disaster, and now we can't even investigate them, as their memory fades into oblivion. Many people died. The old man was killed, Kuma-chan was erased, everybody was a victim. But the police can't even investigate it. Who's gonna take care of their parting regrets? Only we can. Agasaka-san. We find the truth. Yeah, we'll find it. I've been around every one of the string of mysterious deaths, and know all the inner workings of the village. You were told an important truth the year before they happened by Rika Furude. We can do it. But they're already dead. Oh, that's right. Rika Furude died. You were too inexperienced, so you couldn't save her. Well, she grabbed me, who was a wreck, lifted me firmly by the lapels. That's why. To atone for that, we reveal the truth. What you say is true, and all the incidents were a part of some greater design. If that's the case, then how we investigate needs to change completely. I intend to spend tonight summarizing all the information you and I have, and then get in contact with one of my former subordinates first thing in the morning. I'm not gonna let the case go cold. I'm definitely gonna crack it wide open. Crack it open. Crack it open. We will. Several years have passed, but it's not beyond the statute of limitations. Even if the case has been postponed, it's not closed. It's still going. We're gonna keep it going. Oishi and I vowed to bring the truth of the case to light and stood up. Everything ended in 1985. I at least wanted to apologize. I'd searched for her grave. After the state autopsy, her remains were entrusted to one of the shrine's followers. In the future, when the quarantine on the Hinamizawa area was lifted, they would be returned to her family grave. However, unsure who exactly took the remains of Rika Furude, until today, I couldn't even apologize to her. In the future, when the quarantine on Hinamizawa was lifted, all I could do then was wait until whoever that person is returned to the grave. What I could do right now was not apologize to her. Instead, until I was able to meet her again, I would reveal the truth and dispel her regrets. Even now, sporadic eruptions of gas in the Hinamizawa area meant that the prospect of the quarantine being lifted wasn't happening anytime soon. Most likely, it seemed that she had no intention of meeting me again until I found the truth. That's why the quarantine wouldn't be lifted, or so I thought. Till the day I grasped the truth. It was the following year. Oishi and I co-authored a book on the string of mysterious deaths leading up to the great Hinamizawa disaster. I decided on the title, Higurashi, When They Cry. That's the game! That was because for those few days I was in Hinamizawa, the sound that I remembered the most was the cry of the Higurashi. I can only wish that based on this book, those people involved with that incident could refresh their memories and bring to light a new truth. And more importantly, that nothing like this ever happens again. I wrote this in the afterword. Why did this tragedy happen? We can't reach the truth by ourselves. If you're reading this, please discover the truth. That is our only wish. Corrado Oishi, Mamoru Akasaka. This year, the quarantine on Hinamizawa still hasn't been lifted. Damn. So even the following year, in 1986, they couldn't. That's a little fishy. New scenario has been unlocked. All cast review session. Unfortunately, I can't do that yet. I only wish, because I'm gonna go eat breakfast. Yeah, you can do a raid. Looks like Effie. No, Supa. Whoa, shit. Smithery too. Damn. Let's see. Let's see who we choose. Let's go with Smithery. They're playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I'm guessing it's with Supa as well. So shout out to Smithery Loves Company. Cheers for the stream. Thanks for stopping by, brothers. Thanks again for the redemption. We'll think of something better for the TBA. Smelly Loves Company. Yeah, go check them out. Well, I guess next stream we'll go through the All-Star cast review session, and then we'll kind of throw our hypothesis on the story before we tackle the next chapter. Because that's it for the questions arc. Now we're going to get some answers. But yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks again to... No, I guess that's it. Thanks again to everyone for hanging out, and I'll catch you guys later. Here's the stream, dude. Thanks, Fog. I'll catch you later. Did I open the tab? I didn't. There we go. But yeah. Have a good one. Bye. If anything, we'll be back later with Terraria, but I'm not sure about that. So we'll see. Yeah. Bye.